sit back and get ready to have the most fun you ever had with an electronic device.
And speaking of spin rates really quick, do you think it's a computer that actually measures the spin rate, or do you think it's a guy that slows the film down and just watches and counts?
It's actually Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg.
There could very well be
every phone is calculating the spin rate at the park, and they're
doing a median.
They're doing a median of it and then sending you an advertisement based on other things that you look at.
Hi, everybody. Welcome out to the Get On With It Sports Show. It is Wednesday, November the 10th, 2021. Jersey Johnny coming at you. With me, as always, is none other than Mr. RadioPete and Mr. Harry Lug Nutz. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hi.
Are we on?
Are we on?
Is this thing on?
Is it Wednesday night? Is this the 5:30 podcast?
This is the 17:30 podcast. How are you today? What you guys doing?
Just fine.
Just peachy.
Yeah.
Why the hell not?
Right. Why not?
Yeah, we're good. Whatever. It's
It's all good. It's middle of the week. Another weekend of football coming up, starting tomorrow night. Baseball's over. Basketball has begun. Some hot stove is underway, but there's a lot of nuttiness in football too. But other than that, how's everything generally with the two of you?
Oh, we don't want to go into that. That's a bad podcast.
That's a bad podcast.
Yeah, I don't
want to talk about that.
We don't have time.
Yeah.
I hear you.
I used to any day above ground is a good day. That used to be that expression. Sometimes that's true.
I hear you.
Yeah, well, it's relative.
I see where you're going.
And good is relative.
And it can very well have to do with relative too.
Yeah, that's true.
This is true.
What are we going to start with football today?
I figured there's a couple of things I wanted to bring up in baseball really quick. Just like two interesting tidbits.
Okay.
I figured we can get them out of the way, even though we have the football screen on. That doesn't. You know what? For shiggles, I'll throw that on there. Here we go.
Wow, our graphics are really
solid, right? I tell you. Whatchamacallit? It was reported last week. I just want to get your guys' opinion on this. It was reported last week that back in earlier in the season, with that whole was it a rat or a raccoon that everybody ran into the tunnel to go check out?
Oh, yeah. Well,
it was actually Lindor choking out Jeff McNeil. So.
Yeah. I mean, look, John, I think you and I probably Harry, you did do that. What's the expression when you think something is phony? I smell a rat, right? Well, There actually was no actual rat to smell.
Right.
That was bullshit right from the start, and we all kind of knew it. But whatever. There was it one of you guys who posted Lupica's column?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, okay. Look, the lip was right. The Mets are more Mets than ever, I think, is what he said. And
they really are. It's amazing that it has come to this, but they were actually less the Mets in the last few years of the Wilpons than they are right now.
Well, if you're going to choke somebody out in the dugout, you better be winning.
Right.
And for the guy who was paid a ton of money to do, let's just say, a little better at least than what he did this year. Mm-hmm. I don't know why he was choking out Jeff McNeil. I'm sure they had to, there was some.
It had something to do with the fact that Jeff McNeil. It was the shift. The shift was on, and Jeff McNeil screwed up a couple of plays in the shift. He wasn't playing the shift correctly, so it wasn't an offensive thing. It wasn't because his bat was, not coming around or whatever. It was a defensive thing, right? And obviously Francisco Lindor took major offense to it. To the point where he was, basically committing a felony on his teammate.
Well, if he choked up on his bat like he choked up on Jeff McNeil, he might have had a better season.
This is true. Very, very good point. Good point.
If McNeil was hitting it all, then it might not have been such a big deal. Lindor might have said something about it without the choking part.
Right.
But McNeil wasn't exactly tearing it up at the plate for the entire season either.
No.
So that probably added to the frustrations. Whatever. It was stupid crap.
Was this before or after the Chili Davis incident?
This was, I think it's just before.
Just before.
It was just before.
What was
if memory serves, I could be wrong. I think it was just before.
What was the batting coach's name again?
Donnie Diesel.
Donnie Diesel, yes. That was actually Donnie Diesel's pet rat.
Right.
That was loose in the stadium.
And his pet rat's name was Raccoon. So they put it all together.
The Mets have always been a really interesting organization.
Interesting is code word for fucked up.
They seem to always have a bunch of loony bins on their teams. I mean, the Yankees had that a little bit in the late 70s, but there's just I'm not saying it's a bad thing necessarily. When you're winning, it can be a good thing. But and the Mets were winning at that time. They were in first place, I think.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, they were in first place
in the you could argue what the Mets came in second in that division, right? So Mets fans are arguing that they're the second best team in baseball because the team that came in first won the World Series.
There you go.
Yeah, that's not a logical argument, but
yeah, I wouldn't say that. But don't group me in with those guys. But any event. All right, moving on from that really quick. I just I saw something else that was piqued my interest. DeGrom said something towards the effect of he's taking blame for the Mets not having a better season and not making the playoffs.
Because he got hurt?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or because he wasn't there to hit every day?
Because he wasn't there to pitch hit every day.
Because there was no one to hit the ball.
He's like that kid who's like 6'8" in Little League, who's really much better than everybody else and pitches, leads the league in strikeouts and batting average.
Right.
Yeah. And then he got mono when when the
season
state
went down,
championship.
And the coach got drunk every night at the bar because the kid got mono.
Right. Well, that was before and after.
Well, that's true too. Yeah, that's true.
But
he's got like that January 31st birthday, which is February the cutoff day.
Right.
So he's basically like a year older than most of the rest of the kids, or half the kids in the league. He's more developed.
That's right.
Exactly.
And he starts every season off by beaning the first batter in the back and making his ribs collapse.
Right.
Yeah,
and then everybody's 7 feet off the plate.
I think there was a big story about that about 20 years ago. I think his name was Danny Almonte, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's the only seventh grader in the league who's shaving,
right,
and driving,
and
paying child support.
Right.
So
listen, at least DeGrom's stepping up, and I mean, look, that's good. I still maintain that the Mets can get their second and third pitcher healthy,
right?
They're going to have an advantage that a lot of teams don't have.
Sure.
And that's going to go a lot longer way than worrying who's going to platoon at third base.
They got a lot more to do before they can figure that out, because they still have to firm up this president of baseball operations. Then they have to firm up the GM. Then they have to get a manager. Then they have to get a staff for that manager.
Well, did you see the update on where they're at with getting the president of baseball operations? It was this long sort of statement basically saying, "Yeah, we're looking. Yeah. There's no problems. There's nothing to be concerned about. We're looking.
Nothing
we
to
want to
see here.
make sure we picked the right person who stays under me,
right,
but above."
We're doing our due diligence.
Right, we're doing our due diligence.
Well, now the apparent front runner is Adam Cromie.
That's what I hear. Yeah,
the former Nationals assistant GM who left baseball in 2017.
Right.
So a guy who's been out of it for 4 years.
He was working at Fuddruckers for.
But how much did he have to do with the team that won the World Series? Was it that year or the year after?
It was the year 2 years ago. So it was 2 years after he left.
Yeah. So probably not that much.
Yeah.
Well, probably a bit if he had anything to do with getting some of those. I mean, that Nationals team was all about.
Well, look, he was the assistant GM.
Oh,
so he was not the GM.
That's like
so he got the coffee for the guy that put the team.
That's like the assistant manager at Village Inn.
Right.
Well, look,
you don't even get to rotate the silk pies.
Maybe he had some some good advice or whatever. Maybe he had
maybe he was actually the brains behind the outfit, and they
it's
cut ties
just
with him because of that. So.
The point here is they're going out of baseball with guys who've left the game now for nearly half a decade, and that's where they're looking for their next GM.
Yeah, it's sad. It really is.
I
think I'm going to throw my name in the ring. Why not?
Listen, I think I'm not ready to go there yet, but I may take another year off from being a Met fan.
Well,
I may have to
mhm.
because look, Uncle Steve could own the team for how long, and he could just be terrible the whole time.
Yeah,
There's no guarantee he's going to be any good. He's starting off like shit.
yeah.
So I'm not seeing any light at the end of the tunnel here.
I'm not either. It's
Nothing
it's
against
sad. It's a sad state of affairs.
nothing against Sandy Alderson personally, but he's got to go out. He's got to get out of there.
He's got to get out of there. He's got to get out of there. They got to bring fresh people in. And,
Where's Lee Mazzilli when you need him?
yeah, why not? And bring in Lee Mazzilli. Bring in whatever. Just
bring in Wally Backman.
Bring in Wally Backman. Bring in Lee Mazzilli.
Bail him out of jail and bring him in.
Bring back Tim Tuffle. Get Keith out of the booth and have him come down just on Sundays or something.
The interesting part about all this, which the only logic that I can see in all this of why it's taking so long is maybe they're smart enough to actually understand that whoever they hire for this position has to basically be able to bring a manager along at the same time. So maybe, just maybe, they're kind of looking at both of these at the same time. They'll probably announce the manager second, but I think there should be some thought about maybe these two guys need to be on the same page.
I hear what you're saying, but there's also that GM position they need to slot in between the two too. So are they looking for all three at the same time, or
they're hiring three positions right now?
President of Baseball Ops, General Manager, and team and field manager,
and they already have an owner and
an owner and a team president.
Team president,
yeah, exactly. And
that sounds like way too much upper management.
Way too many people.
See what I'm saying? This is a shit show already.
It is. The only reason Sandy Alderson is there is because Steve Cohen doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, but
he's there to hold Steve Cohen's hand. That's what he's there for. That's it. It's a security blanket for Steve Cohen. That's what Sandy Alderson is.
Then they have to sit in the same box and allow the other people that they're hiring to do their job.
Yeah, you would think, but that's not that's not Sandy Alderson's MO.
Right. Yeah, if Alderson was like, okay,
then own it and make Sandy Alderson the GM.
Well, but that doesn't seem to be. If Sandy Alderson was saying, look, we're going to bring these two people in, we're going to get good people in here, or these three positions or whatever, and then I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to help you do this, Steve, because you don't know anything about baseball.
Once they have solid people in there,
I'm going to help you get good people in
team.
there, and then I'm out, and then they're going to run the team and blah blah blah. Yeah. I would say, okay,
make that announcement. Fine,
right. Say that, and then that's the plan, and that's what we're going to do. And then you'll have everyone will have their opinion about how good Sandy Alderson will do.
Well, if you look at it from
like you just said, that's not his MO, and I don't think that's what's happening.
I feel like Sandy Alderson is the Dick Cheney of the Mets.
Yeah,
and Steve Cohen is the George Bush.
He's going to run things
and you can hire Colin Powell, but he's going to be useless because you're going to be feeding him bad information.
Right. Well, that's there's an analogy right there. But here's the problem. I understand using Sandy Alderson or somebody at all at that particular point because if Steve Cohen was going at this alone, trying to find a president of baseball operations and a GM, you know what I mean? What would he be doing? He needs help there. I get it. But to your point, Pete, absolutely. If Sandy Alderson was there saying, okay, I'm helping Steve Cohen find the right guys for these three positions.
And then leave.
And then I'm gone. That's fine. But he's not doing that. He's there for I don't care what he says he's there for.
I mean, did Mark Cuban have an assistant, helping him hire coaches and president of basketball operations?
I don't believe so.
What's the difference with any of this? I don't understand. Most owners don't know a damn thing about baseball. That's why they hire GMs and coaches.
Right.
And I don't think Steve Cohen is under any illusion that he is some sort of baseball genius.
No, I know that.
But he's not. He doesn't have in Sandy Alderson a guy who's gonna help round out the team and then say, "Okay, good luck."
Just
He's
think
got
about
a guy who's going to want his fingers in the pie, and that's why nobody wants this job except for maybe a guy who's been out of baseball for 4 years.
If you look at all of the New York sports teams right now, and there's either an owner or a GM or some sort of position like that that are keeping all of them from making strides towards being something better. Every one of them. I'm talking New York City teams. I mean, the Knicks have made a lot of progress, but God, get their owner out of the way, and who knows what the hell could happen. I feel like the Yankees are in the same position with Cashman being entrenched there. The Mets obviously have this dilemma. Look at the Giants with their situation. The Jets may be a little premature to sort of act on that, but certainly the results are not necessarily sterling as of yet.
No.
And I feel like even with the Nets, there's some sort of lack of decision making that goes on to some degree with the ownership of the Nets. It's just back in the day, owners had one job to do, and that was to make sure that they had the means to give these organizations and the people that run them the best chance to put a winner on the court, field, or
right.
Yeah, they hired people to run.
That's what I mean.
At least with the Jets.
The Jets maybe are an exception.
Well, as we've been told, right, the whole decision by committee is not going on anymore, right? They said they're going to change the way they do that. So we'll see. Again, the results have not been great, but rookie head coach, rookie quarterback, all that stuff. And with the Knicks, it's been better, right? What's his name?
It's been better, but it's been documented that because of the ownership, some players, some very big name players who probably would have considered the Knicks in the past, have not and are not.
Right, but I'm saying the things that Dolan was doing before, he's not doing right now. He's letting his team run things, and the Knicks are having some success.
Sort of, but him being there is, mark my words, it'll keep.
No, I don't disagree with you, but I'm saying at least he is trying to change that culture, and it will take some time.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows exactly what he's doing behind the scenes?
Yeah, he's not throwing top 5 Knicks in the history of the franchise out of the garden these days.
And there hasn't been, at least I haven't heard anything. Not that I have my ear to the Knicks. What's ear to the ground for the Knicks conference room? But there hasn't been that. Well, this guy's here because Dolan loves him.
Right.
And nobody wanted him, but they had to do it. There hasn't been any of that. As far as I can tell, he's been hands off. But you don't cure decades of him being a douchebag and ruining things overnight. So
exactly.
So those changes do seem to have occurred, but it's going to take time.
Well, look,
the Mets are just getting into the beginning of the shit show now.
Yeah, they're on the upswing.
Yeah. So we could have we could have our decades of crap just beginning right now.
This could be worse. I mean, everything was like, this is great with Steve Cohen. We're getting the Wilpons out of here. Be careful what you wish for, because now we could be in for worse times than we've had since. But look, like I said, if Sandy Alderson said that he was going to help hire him and then he was going to leave, that'd be great. But it's not going to happen. So who knows? One other thing I wanted to bring up. I find this interesting. I hear a rumor that the Yankees are looking to hire somebody in particular for being the third base coach.
I did miss a voicemail today.
I don't know where it stands or if it was rumor. I don't believe it was. They actually interviewed one Louis Rojas.
There you go.
Really?
Yeah.
As long as his eyesight's better than like 20/90, then I think
he'll do a better job.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Okay.
So who knows? Oh, whatever. I thought that would be interesting to bring up. And
yeah, I mean, I'd be okay with that.
Would you?
I mean, does he really want to be a third base coach?
I don't know. The Mets actually offered him another position inside the organization. Obviously, it's a demotion, obviously, but
he'd probably want to be one of the most qualified overqualified third base coaches of a while, or maybe not. Look, this is a topic because what's his name? I can't even remember his name right now. Made a boneheaded call at third base, and he got punished for it. The Yankees wanted to save face and get rid of some of Aaron Boone's staff, and they did, but they kept Aaron Boone. And so I'm not sure that a third base coach is going to solve. You know when a third base coach is not needed?
Yeah.
When you're driving in runs where you're not having to call somebody in from first base on a double or a single, or when somebody thinks they hit a home run and get a long single out of it instead of a double or a triple because they didn't run out of the box.
Right, exactly.
That's something that a third base coach doesn't necessarily fix. That's a cultural thing.
Sure.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
We will.
By the way, one other thing here, according to John Heyman, reporting that the current executive VP and assistant general manager for the Red Sox, Raquel Ferreira, declining to be interviewed for the president of baseball operations vacancy with the Mets.
Yeah, they actually had to get permission from the Red Sox to talk to her because there was something in I forget what the deal was with one particular contract or something like that.
Yeah,
but they weren't able to talk to any other execs. But they actually got permission from the Red Sox to talk to her,
and she said no thanks.
And she said, "Nah, I'm good." Thanks.
Fourth woman in MLB history to be elevated to a team assistant general manager position.
Good.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you could argue that
but
the Red Sox were the most improved team.
Work for the Mets to be
she's in a good organization that obviously is. Look, the Red Sox have a young team. Were they not the most improved team in baseball this year?
I would say so, but then again, you got to remember they basically had a year off from Alex Cora, right?
True.
And then he's back.
Also,
you have
2 years
actually, right?
What's her name? Kim Ng. Right, who worked for the Yankees and the Dodgers, same kind of position. Now she's the GM at the Marlins.
Yeah.
Which that's not a plum job as far as going to a good team. I mean, that's a great question. I would love to ask Raquel Ferreira.
Yeah,
did you want to just stay with the Red Sox because they're up and coming, or did you just have no desire to go to the Mets, even though it meant moving up big time?
How many other?
It's the goddamn Mets.
How many other teams would you have said no to? Is the answer
exactly.
Is the answer 24 or none?
Or
maybe one or two others. I'd say they should say no to. So.
You don't know.
What are we gonna do? All right. Well, let's move on to.
I mean, this is comical.
It is comical. It's almost disgusting.
And then apparently there's another. Whatever, half a dozen people who, I guess, let's see here, withdrawing their names from consideration or just declining to be interviewed. Can you imagine?
Just bring back Bobby V.
VP of Baseball Operations,
right?
For a New York Metropolitan baseball team.
Bobby V's been proven that he can handle a circus. Bring him back.
In the city. Yeah. No thanks. I don't even want to interview. Hey, remember when I threw my hat in the ring? Can you give me that back now?
Give me back, please. I'll take it.
Give me my hat back. By the handful, at least, if not by the dozen. It's got to be almost an even dozen right now, right?
It's got to be close. It's got to be close.
This is disgustingly comical.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I may have to take a year off from being a Met fan.
Well, you took a year off of being a Mets fan and a Jets fan this year, right?
Look, you
were indifferent to the Nets.
You know who their fallback is, right?
What are you following?
You know their fallback. You know their fallback for GM is. Because they can what?
I mean, to actually learn some of the Devils players.
I'll tell you what.
Start rooting for hockey. What else do I have?
The Mets should hire Lou Amarilla. He'd do a hell of a job.
Lou Amarilla would be great. Omar Minaya got to be their fallback, right? Forget about the president of baseball ops. Sandy can do whatever he's going to do. Put Omar in a GM. Hire some
back
manager.
Omar and rehire Willie Randolph as
I'll tell you.
Who's going to be the manager, though?
I'll put money down on this right now. Okay. If something doesn't change in the next 2 weeks, maybe 3 tops, like into the beginning of December, all right? There's not going to be any president of baseball ops right now. They'll find somebody at some point. They're going to bring Omar Minaya in, and he's going to be the GM, and Carlos Beltran's going to get another shot at manager. That's exactly what's going to happen. I promise you. I'll put money on it. If something doesn't change by the beginning of December, that's what you're going to have.
A lot of people want Beltran, and maybe the players will respond to him.
I think that's actually their only choice if something doesn't change in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So
Will he say yes?
imagine if Omar and I and Carlos Beltran say, "Yeah, we're good. See ya. We're gonna play golf in Florida. See you later." That would be.
I mean, has Beltran coached anywhere?
No, nothing, zero. He the last thing in base. Well, no, he was involved with scouting with the Yankees for a couple of years after he retired.
Yeah.
That was it.
But
He hasn't
he's
managed,
never
coached or managed. No, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah. Little League.
Let's see. And when is the draft?
When is the
How about this week's football
When is
games?
when is the Major League Baseball draft?
June?
Oh, who knows?
June.
It's the least interesting of all the drafts.
No, I'm just wondering if they'll have some people in place.
Oh yeah.
by
Mets
halfway through the season next year.
Mets have got 2 picks in the top 15. There's no guarantee
They
that
should
they're
go
gonna have.
Well, they screwed
might
up.
have a bunch
they
of
screwed up the
interim.
pick this year.
They should go with the player manager.
They might have a bunch of interim guys in place.
I don't get it. Anyway, all right.
They could re-sign what's his name to play first base every 6 weeks and make Bruce the manager. Jay Bruce.
Jay Bruce,
Jay Bruce,
player manager.
There you go.
I mean,
Plays on odd numbered Thursdays.
There you
that's
go.
right.
There you go. Anyway, all right. Enough about baseball. Enough of the Mets, anyway. We'll do some more hot stove here and there as things pop up. If nothing pops up, we won't. So there you go. All right, let me flip the ready for the graphics. Ready. There we go.
Whoa!
We
Is
are.
that a rugby field?
You see right next to the 20-yard line, that line right there. That's what Daniel Jones tripped over.
Right? Yeah, I got you. Well, the 20-yard line's pointing at you, so
Well,
there you go. So there you go. All right,
at least he was running in the right direction.
let's do the quiz.
All right, quiz
time. We did. We're going backwards. We went up and now we're going backwards. Last week we did 1960s players. Yes, we're going back to the 50s. Going back to the 50s.
my
for
forte.
the NFL. There you go.
Yeah.
These are all players that we all when we were in high school they were playing. Right. So,
The Gipper. Women for the Gipper.
there you go. So all right. Once again, 4. I'm giving you 6. You got to keep 4. 2 got to go. All right.
All
Who are you
right.
keeping? I'm giving you a linebacker, a quarterback, a defensive end, a halfback, a defensive back, and an offensive tackle. Here we go. Ready?
What's a halfback?
A running back.
I know, but a halfback is.
I was like,
I was joking. When was the last time you heard that term?
I was. Yeah, he's gonna say.
Well,
Well, the term was I was answering you for anybody else that didn't know what a halfback was. So there you go.
yeah. Well, they don't use H back anymore, right?
They don't use that back. They have fullbacks, but there's no
I
halfback.
think, what's his name was the last H-back guy who played for the 49ers. Anyway,
Exactly.
good.
So,
Frank
here we go.
Gore.
All right, let's start it
Frank
out.
Gore
So,
was the last H back.
there you go. 6 players. Here we go. Sam Huff, Otto Graham, Gino Marchetti, Frank Gifford, Night Train Lane, Dick to his friends, and Rosie Brown, Mr. Roosevelt Brown. I know there's 3 Giants on there, but they were good in the 50s, so.
I wouldn't have known that. All right. Well,
Once again, Sam Huff. Sam Huff's a linebacker. Otto Graham, quarterback. Gino Marchetti,
care.
defensive end.
I don't care what
Frank
position
Gifford, halfback. Night Train Lane's defensive back. And Rosie Brown, offensive
okay. Well, obviously, Night Train stays.
Okay.
Obviously. Why? Why is that?
Because
Obviously.
of his nickname.
His nickname. Okay.
nickname.
I thought maybe you were like kind of Night Train Lane post.
Oh no! Let me look up his stats. No.
No.
It's his nickname. Otto Graham, of course, because I love palindromes. So he stays.
And you need a quarterback for your team, too. I mean,
Yeah.
as well.
Gifford was a pretty good player.
You
You
think?
think?
Yeah. So I'll keep Frank.
They were all pretty good. That's why.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Why they're on the
obviously,
list.
but I mean, certainly for our generation, I think we probably know him obviously.
Well, yeah.
More as a broadcaster,
more as the husband of.
I don't remember watching
Kathy
Frank
Lee.
Gifford play.
Right.
So,
I've seen film.
so that's 3, right? Who's left? Rosie Brown,
Gino Marchetti, and Sam Huff.
I got to keep one.
You got to keep one of them.
Well, I'll keep Marchetti because he's a Paisan.
There you go. All right. So you're keeping.
Well, I probably should keep Roosevelt Brown.
Well, who do you want, Marchetti or Brown?
I'll keep Brown.
All right.
Sorry, Gino.
So who are you getting rid of? Gino Marchetti and who else?
Sam Huff.
Oh, this is easy.
Okay.
A great nickname, but nowhere near as good as Sam Huff. Night Train Lane and Gino Marchetti are gone. Sorry, Gino.
Okay. Yeah. Night Train Lane and Gino Marchetti are the ones that are gone for you. So you're keeping Sam Huff, Otto Graham, Frank Gifford, and Rosie Brown.
Correct.
There you go. Yeah, I would concur with that one, actually.
Okay, well, Night Train is going to kick the shit out of both of you.
Well, Night Train, again, I'm picking up a lot of these guys on waivers a minute after this quiz.
You want to know why I picked him? It's because I was afraid if I didn't, he would kill me. So.
He would, yeah. So there you go. All right, cool. So Pete's going with Otto Graham, Frank Gifford.
He died 19 years ago, so I don't think you have anything to fear.
Yeah.
Well, the man's got family.
Night Train, this is true. And Rosie. And Harry's going with Sam Huff, Otto Graham, Frank Gifford, and Rosie as well. There we go. All right.
Yeah.
Pat going with Harry going with 3 of his 4 are Giants. So there you go. It works. But they were good in the 50s. So there you go. All right.
Yeah.
All right, cool. That brings us into football, of course. Couple things before we get into some games. The one of the elephants in the room this week.
Who are you calling an elephant?
We're talking about the elephants first.
We're talking about the elephants first.
I like that. All
right. Aaron Rodgers. Very, very opinionated and very vocal this week. And, apparently, whatever. I mean, we've heard it before. If you haven't heard it, just Google Aaron Rodgers and vaccine, and you can read tons of material on it.
I'm not going to say anything other than if you want my take on Aaron Rodgers, reference Terry Bradshaw on Sunday. That's it. He said it all. Done.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Yeah,
that works.
Kind of the whole panel there.
Yep.
They didn't mince words.
Nope.
Listen, I'll say this: football smarts doesn't equal smart smarts.
Not so much.
I always thought Aaron Rodgers was a pretty intelligent guy, but I mean, look, I don't. That's not fair of me to characterize him. Obviously, that's elitist and stupid. But if you really believe that shit, then I don't know, man. Something. Your brain is not operating.
The celebrity is not immune, no pun intended, to misinformation. And,
no, it's not. It's not.
And there's also this arrogance that comes with a lot of people to say that I know better.
Right.
That all of this is a conspiracy. This is going to hurt me. It's going to make me impotent. Whatever the case might be. Really, he just didn't want to get immunized because he was immunized. He didn't want to get the vaccination.
Right. He
thought he's above it.
Immunized.
Just like he was above showing up to camp. Just like he was above, being upfront about what is his actual beef with the Packers. What's going on? He's a great quarterback. Probably I would say this year he was playing at a level where he was proving, and the last week's game proved that he's, if not the best quarterback in the league,
right.
On any week he's the best one. That's for sure. And if I'm starting a team today, he'd probably be the guy I'd pick.
Sure.
Look, there's a lot of people who fall into this category of privilege based on what they've, the status that they are in life. Some of them have earned it. I'm not saying that they're that they should be putting themselves in that situation, but at least Aaron Rodgers has earned his way to being an elite athlete. It's not just from being born into some family or having some name that gives him that privilege.
No, he certainly earned all of the football accolades that he gets. Right. There's no discussion there whatsoever. But it's got to stop there.
But he lied and put his teammates in jeopardy.
Yeah, and look, in sort of his defense, not really a defense, but what I'll say is not that he is blameless here, but it's really difficult, I believe, to stay out of that mindset sometimes.
Right.
Absolutely.
When everybody around you is telling you, you know what I mean? These things. How do you, and you are living a life of privilege with the money and the special treatment that you get, it's really, I mean, I think it's just hard for human beings in general to maintain, to keep their feet on the ground.
And this
to
is,
excuse it, but it can be really, really hard.
At some point, too, we have to come to an agreement somewhere in the middle where common sense resides on a very thin line and say, okay, how about this? Get the vaccination or follow protocols that of not having it. But let's say this. Let's get 98% of the league, 99% of the league vaccinated, and then we'll stop testing, and we'll be on our way with this.
Right.
Because this is going to go on for 10 years with people missing games because they tested positive with a vaccine for COVID. We know that especially elite athletes are probably not going to get severely ill, especially if they're vaccinated, if they catch this. Now, yes, it can pass on. It could go through the locker room, et cetera, et cetera. But at some point, the pushback against the vaccine is different than the pushback. And I think, there's a lot of people that have been saying this is, when are we going to move on? Right. Let's all agree to disagree, but let's find a happy medium and move on.
Well, look, it's pretty simple. If you don't want to get the vaccine, you get tested.
Right.
Listen, we're having,
But everybody's getthis tested now. This is what I'm saying. It's when does it stop?
Right.
I mean, COVID's not going away. So we're just going to continue to test people every 2 days to see if they can do their job
until they get the vaccine, or until enough
what if
time
what if they have the vaccine? That's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about unvaccinated people. I'm talking about vaccinated people.
Right. Right. Because they're testing clearly.
Listen, if they're not going to
look, if a vaccinated person is, if you hear in the news that a vaccinated athlete tested positive and he's asymptomatic, clearly they're testing because he wouldn't have been tested if they weren't testing because he's asymptomatic.
But how many other people who are in professions where they're not tested every 2 days that are vaccinated, who did the right thing, who have either been double vaxxed or triple vaxxed now, who may have had it but are asymptomatic. Now, if you're symptomatic and you're sick, that's different.
Right.
But that's the same as having the flu or a stomach virus or anything else that can be passed on. If you're sick, then you don't play. Most players, believe in that. But so something's got to give here, and that's why I think, I don't know what the percentage of NBA or NFL players that are vaccinated, but I'm guessing it's probably in the 90% percentile right now. I'm guessing that's probably one of the higher percentage professions.
I don't know. I wouldn't even be sure it's that high.
I think it's a little lower than that. I do. I don't think it's that high.
Probably. I mean, certainly higher than the general population.
Yeah.
Well, the general population is getting up there. This is what people don't realize. Adults, I think we're approaching 70%. We're at 70%.
That's what brings down the level here of. In other words, when you get that herd immunity, whether it's via vaccination or via people who've had it and survived, and that way when it does spread, it doesn't become pandemic because it spreads, but it spreads to people who had the vaccine or who have natural immunity or
the NFL vaccination rate is at 93.7%.
That's pretty good.
Wow. I didn't think it was that high.
I wouldn't think it was that high.
Of course, because you would know if people weren't. And the ones that we know aren't are, what's his name, the quarterback from the Vikings, and now Aaron Rodgers.
Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, Alan Lazard too, and of course Cole Beasley. But I guess that's
so
for
those
people, they either get the vaccine or they get tested.
Right.
That's really all you can do.
State Farm announced that while they don't agree, they came out with their statement yesterday or today. While they don't agree with what Aaron Rodgers did and said and didn't get vaccinated, what he said, how he said it, he lied, blah blah blah, all of that. They agree that he's allowed to have an opinion. So they aren't like they're not cutting him. They're not dropping him from their advertising and everything else. However, 25% of the State Farm commercials last 2 weeks ago and before were Aaron Rodgers commercials. Less than 5% of them this past Sunday were.
I heard that their competition, that the ostrich lied about being vaccinated, and he's going to be cut.
Oh, from Liberty Mutual. Yeah.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Packers got fined $300,000, the organization. And Aaron Rodgers and Alan Lazard both received $14,650 fines each. Right.
That really hurts them.
I'm sure that really, really puts a dent in their pocketbook. So, but in any event, so there you go. All right, let's move on to the other elephant in the room.
There's two, huh?
There's two, yeah. Mr. Odell, a free agent now. I don't believe. Well, as of about 10 minutes before we started the show, he wasn't signed.
No.
So I don't believe he is signed
Yeah,
yet.
I'm looking at a headline here that says he's going to take some time before deciding on his next team.
Well, I think he's waiting on other people to make him an offer.
Well,
it sounds like the interested party, according to Diana Rossini,
well,
was New Orleans.
It's
I'm hearing a lot about the
interested,
Packers,
Kansas City, and,
New Orleans, Seattle, Green Bay, Kansas City, and New England.
Yeah,
those
but
are the five.
She said three. I don't think New
75% of the teams that we mentioned last week.
I don't think New England was in her.
Well, Bill Belichick actually has been. They've been talking. The Pats and the Odell Beckham camp. So it's those five those five have interest or have expressed interest in the last few days. Since he cleared waivers on Monday, they have expressed interest. But whatever. I did see something funny. I think I sent it to you too.
Packers, Chiefs, and Saints is what everybody's saying.
That makes sense. It does. Well, I heard on Good Morning Football, a couple of guys were talking about the fact that they don't think that he should be going to a team like the Pats because a guy like him, however disruptive he can be. On a guy like Mac Jones, you don't want that for that quarterback. He's a rookie quarterback. You don't want that for him. The Saints, what's he going to do? With Trevor Siemian or Taysom Hill, he's going to, work with them. Packers would be a place to go, but he actually offered, not that they're interested by any means, but he thinks that the Titans should actually be looking into him because one, you got a veteran quarterback who doesn't really need to listen to him in Ryan Tannehill. You got a coach that doesn't give a shit. And if Odell Beckham starts things, Mike Vrabel's just going to say, "Get the fuck out of here. Goodbye. See ya. Leave."
Well, and he's going to be much higher on the receiving.
He'll be higher on the food chain too with AJ Brown and Julio Jones.
He'll probably become a number one receiver.
He'll probably become the number one receiver there.
And
right. And then also the Titans obviously have to reinvent themselves if they want to continue to compete this year because they have no Derrick Henry. So he says that should be somebody that is looking into him. Plus, he's not too far away from home in Tennessee. Obviously the Saints would be optimal for him, but
I think Tennessee is just a lateral move from Cleveland.
Right. But he wants to, he was bitching, and they said it too this morning. And you think about it, it's true. He's like, he was bitching. He wants to go to a contender. Yo, Odell, you were on a contender. Well,
and they looked a lot better. The last week without him. So
they've looked a lot better a number of times without him.
Well, here we go. Ready? Here's some stats for you. Baker Mayfield with Odell Beckham, his record is 13-15. Without Odell Beckham, his record is 14-11. Okay. With Odell Beckham, his completion percentage is 60.7. Without Odell Beckham, his completion percentage is 64.2. With him, he has 228 yards per game. Without him, he has 257.9 yards per game. And his touchdown to interception ratio with him, 42-29. Without him, 41-17. And, of course, his passer rating with him is 84.8, and without him is 96.3. So, yeah, all those stats equal Baker Mayfield, and the Browns do not need Odell Beckham.
I'll tell you the one team that I feel like he can fit in on, and they're struggling anyway. I think he could be a potential mix in Kansas City. The Packers who knows? Who knows what the Packers are actually? I'm not sure you really want to bring him into the mix in Green Bay, but
well, he's certainly not going to be the number one receiver in Green
No,
Bay.
of course
He's not surpassing
nobody
Devontae
in the
Adams.
league is going to be number one because they have the number one receiver in all of football.
Right.
But you can see, you can see where, I could see him fitting. I think he'll get a lot more touches in Kansas City. Kansas City needs another receiver. Tyreek Hill is not having the year that a lot of people thought they were in. And Patrick Mahomes obviously isn't either. But, why not throw that nut job in there with the other, the Tyreek Hills of the world? And I think
nut job in there.
I think Andy Reid can handle it.
Yeah, I think Green Bay is a better place for him.
Yeah, Green Bay is a better place for anybody.
Well, right, because they're a better team. But as far as you would think he's going to be, at least to start, he's going to be on his best behavior.
Right.
A place like Kansas City, he could become a pretty decent weapon for them and become, something of an integral part of their offense along with the other parts. Green Bay, any bullshit from him in a couple of weeks, they don't need him.
No.
I think Green Bay's obviously proved that they're a no tolerance to bullshit kind of team.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, right. So that's what I'm saying. That's what he, all right. That you can't say Odell Beckham is even close to on the level of Aaron Rodgers.
Well, I'm just saying, it's like
your point is well taken, but I mean, it's not like they have a long history of nut jobs like Odell Beckham thriving
different
or being
time.
allowed to. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So to me, that would be where he would probably be kept in check the most. You send him to Kansas City. You're right. He could just be another nut job on that team, and I don't know.
Well, he's got to decide what he wants to do. Right. He's taken time to look. He's got the 3 years.
We don't know where he's going to get an offer. That's the whole thing.
Well, like
he's
I said,
been running half-ass routes, and because the reason why he's only putting one hand up to catch the ball is because he was checking his text to see if any other teams are interested.
While he was on the other
pager, he's checking to see.
Pager. Yeah. I sent out. I think I sent it to you guys last week. There was a funny one that came over. It said Odell Beckham agrees to play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. However, the Buccaneers have not agreed to play to sign Odell Beckham. So. But the last 3 years at the Browns, in 2019, he had yards per game each year. In 2019, his average yards per game was 64.5. In 2020, last year, his average yards per game was 45.6. And this year, up until obviously he was let go, his average yards per game was 38.7. So he's been getting, granted, obviously that had a lot to do with, look, here's the thing with the Browns, right? They have, and granted people are hurt now, but overall they have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Why are you throwing the ball if you got two running backs that can ball control and move it down the field? You don't need Odell Beckham. And Jarvis Landry too. You don't need either of them as much anyway. When you have, just to open it up a little bit here and there, but obviously that was the problem, right? They're not a high-powered offense. He wants to go to a team that's going to throw the ball, that's going to be, have a gunslinger back there and be throwing the ball 97% of the time. And that's another reason why they said at this point.
But do you remember how excited he was to go to Cleveland?
Because he wanted to play with Jarvis Landry. That's why.
No. Jarvis Landry wasn't there.
Yeah, he was.
Was he?
Yeah.
When Odell Beckham was signed, Jarvis Landry was already
there. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay. I thought it had more to do with
it. It was quick. It was right after, but
yeah.
If Beckham doesn't mesh with his quarterback right off the bat, then they probably never will.
Do you think he meshed with Eli, or did Eli just say "shut the fuck up" and run the route?
I think it was more the second one.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's
he got him the ball. I mean, let's face it. Odell Beckham made some incredible. He turned some incompletions into completions.
Sure. No, he did. Yeah, he was great.
No one's questioning his talent, but
right.
Well, I'm just questioning: is it still there?
Is his talent still there? I mean, he's been in the league. This is this year is his eighth? Yeah,
he's 29.
This is his eighth
29
season.
years old.
This is his eighth season. So, but in any event, look, this is another thing too. He totally, put Baker Mayfield down upon leaving the Browns, and when he was leaving the Giants, he put Eli Manning down. Yeah. What quarterback's going to want to work with him when the only two that he's ever really worked with, he, threw in the garbage when he walked out of there.
No, it's only going to be on a team where he's going to come in and they're going to say, "Do what you're told, and shut the fuck up, or you're gone."
Right.
Because we don't need you.
Right. Right.
I don't know
whether that'll be enough incentive to keep him in line or not.
I don't know if he's smart enough to realize that if he goes on another team with another, well, I mean, I guess he was on a team with another really good receiver. If he goes there though, and he doesn't have to be the number one option or the number 1A option or even the number 2 option, that he might actually get as many.
He will
He'll get as many passes thrown to him, but he'll probably catch more because he's going to be single covered.
Yeah,
right.
I agree. He'll do better as anything besides the number 1.
Absolutely. But here's the thing: he's in a catch-22, right? He wants to be the number 1 guy. So in order to be the number 1 guy, he's going to have to go to a team that doesn't have a number 1 wide receiver, or at least one that isn't as good as he is. And for that team to be that team, he's got to go to a team that's not a contender, because there's no contenders right now that have that.
Right.
And if he's going to turn down that contender, he's got to go to a team that has a number 1 receiver, and he's not going to be happy about that. So he's got to make a choice, And other teams got to make a choice. He could sit out the rest of the season. So everybody could say, yeah, you know what, we don't need you, we don't want you, because or it could just be a couple of teams that he doesn't want to go to want him, and he says no, and he turns them down, waiting for the other teams, and nobody comes around. So who knows? We'll see how that goes. He's owed $4.25 million, $4.25 million from the Browns after for clearing waivers. It was, I think it was going to be like $7 million if somebody picked them up off of waivers. It would have been $7 million.
$7.5 or something like that.
But it's $4.25 million, $4.25 million is what he's owed. So anyway, all right.
Are we done with the elephants?
We are done with the elephants. Let's talk some football. The Giants won.
Actually, I wanted to just say two things really quickly. Well, one of them is kind of an elephant, but
go for it.
One of them is just a personal thing. Sam Darnold on the injured reserve now.
Yeah,
with shoulder injuries, he's out 4 to 6 weeks. So
yep. 4 to 6 weeks. It was it was his fractured shoulder, fractured scapula.
Yeah.
Probably happened in week 8, and he tried to play last week, which is probably why he had about 37 interceptions, I think.
Yeah, well, again, not exactly learning.
Right. He doesn't need he doesn't need surgery, but he's
out for a while. So.
He's out.
I don't know who the backup is, but
hold on, actually, I have it right here.
Be interesting to see how they do without.
Let me pull it up
Sam
right
Darnold in there,
here.
So. Joe Flacco. Isn't Joe Flacco just going to keep going to teams?
Joe Flacco goes to a different team.
Joe Flacco could end up throwing to Odell Beckham.
There you go. Where is the? There we go. Yeah, I don't know who it is. PJ something. Maybe it's PJ Harvey.
PJ Harvey, that'd be great.
Peanut butter and jelly with a baseball bat.
Exactly.
Little fish, big fish, swimming in the water.
Well, whoever it is, whatever. Just thought I'd mention that.
No, yeah, absolutely.
The other thing I wanted to mention is that I don't know if you guys have seen this in detail. There certainly were enough replays of it, but Mac Jones and Brian Burns.
Yes, yeah.
Dirty play or not?
I think he thought he had the ball. I don't know about the whole twisting thing.
That's whether he had the ball or not. If you grab a guy's leg and you twist his ankle,
right?
Is that a dirty play?
I think it's a little both. I don't think.
I mean, the guy's hurt, right?
Yeah, he's hurt. Yeah, he twisted his ankle.
Is he out?
I think so.
I believe so. Yeah,
he's
Mac questionable. Jones is out let me see.
No, not Mac Jones.
No, Brian Burns.
Brian Burns strip sacked Mac Jones.
Oh, yeah, I remember the play. Okay.
Yeah, and then Mac Jones grabbed his leg and then twisted his ankle around and tackled him that way, and obviously hurt his ankle. But Mac Jones's response was that he thought he had the ball. He thought he got the ball, so he was trying to tackle him from the ground.
He's also a quarterback trying to tackle somebody. So
yeah, there's not too many practice plays for quarterbacks trying to make tackles. So
I give him credit for being able to tackle.
Right.
I think
it's more of an unfortunate play.
I
think it's more of an unfortunate play than a dirty play. That's my opinion, but
I think it's a dirty play.
Well, it's because of the Pats, right? Of course.
No, I think
Do you honestly? Here's my thing. Do you think that Mac Jones had the wherewithal and the intent in his mind at that point? He had an opportunity to make a dirty play and twist the guy's ankle right then. That's what he was thinking.
No, I think he crossed the line. He wanted to make the tackle, and twisting a guy's ankle so that he can't run is one way to do that. And he not only did he twist it, but he rolled over. You know, it wasn't just like he went with his hands. He threw his whole, kind of used his whole body.
Right.
So, look, nobody wants to see anybody get hurt. Right?
No,
that's what they say. You
want
to see a guy get his bell rung or whatever, but you don't want to see anyone, injured and missing weeks of time. That's what everybody says.
Right.
I think that went out the window, and Mac Jones saw an opportunity to. I don't think he said, "I'm going to make a dirty play here." He crossed the line. He crossed the line, and in the heat of battle, it happens. But you should.
Which was to my point. It was more of an unfortunate play.
Unfortunate, yes, but I think it was on purpose.
In my mind, it had to be intent for it to be a dirty play. But, I mean,
so he had
that
to
split second he
thought
he
wanted to. He had to want to hurt him for it to be a dirty play.
Yeah, but in that split second, he consciously thought, "Okay, I'm going to twist his ankle and hurt him." You know what I mean? I think it was more about trying to bring him down.
No, I understand what you're saying. I think he just went, "I'm going to twist his ankle because it's going to help bring him down." I don't think he was thinking about injury.
Right.
But again, you cross,
Right. Okay.
You cross.
I hear your point as well.
It's a line that he shouldn't have crossed.
Sure. Absolutely.
Doesn't mean he's a terrible guy. He just
No.
made a dirty play. I tend to think it's kind of in the moment, and he just, look, we all lose our right. You lose your temper or whatever, or you cross the line. You do something that you normally wouldn't do.
Right.
So doesn't make you a terrible person overall, but it was a dirty play.
Yeah. All right.
And it's New England so far.
That's another play. All right. Giants won.
Yeah.
Giants did win with defense.
Giants won with defense. Giants won. They certainly didn't win with offense because I think Daniel Jones threw the ball 4 times. I think.
No, that's the way.
And Devontae Booker only had 99 yards rushing. I mean, that's a good game. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like he had a Derrick Henry numbers and he was in the 200s.
He's hurt now too. Does he get hurt?
He got hurt. He got hurt towards the end of the game. Yeah. So hey, who knows? But
what 3 interceptions the Giants had?
3. Two. Yeah.
One to pick 6, right?
Yeah, one was. McKinney had both of them. But in any event, they might have had a third. No, one was the other one was a fumble. Three turnovers. The other one was
3 turnovers. There you go.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. Hey, they won. I've been saying that they're 3-6. Honestly,
they could be 9-0.
3. No. 3 plays. 3 plays. They're all penalties. 3 plays go differently. They're 6-3.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. I mean, really, they are.
Well,
3 plays go differently. They're 6-3.
We talked about that last week. The lack of discipline and
this is exactly
the same kind of mistakes over and over.
Now, here's my thing: was it a really good defensive playing on the Giants' part and a really good scheme put together by Patrick Graham, or were the Raiders just looking past the Giants?
I think the Raiders couldn't convert. I think that was really the problem. I mean, Derek Carr threw for almost, he was 4 yards shy of 300. Right. He threw 2 interceptions. He was only sacked once. Mm-hmm. I think the Giants' pass coverage was good. Vegas didn't, they rushed the ball. They had 20 rushes, 117 yards. But I just think it was their inability to put the ball in the end zone and the Giants came up with big turnovers when it happened, when it mattered. And the other thing that the Giants did better than I don't have to check the numbers, but it seems like they did better in weeks past, is that they had a better time of possession. It seemed like they were in control of some drives where it wasn't just this erraticness on offense. Yeah, they didn't put the ball in the end zone a lot, but they didn't necessarily give the Raiders the ball every 2 minutes after, stumbling on the offensive side.
I agree with you, but I mean, the time of possession, they actually only won the time of possession battle by like 23 seconds.
Right. But it seemed that way. It seemed like that.
I'm not saying
I'm not saying that it seemed like they beat the Raiders at time of possession. It seemed like they had more control of this game compared to previous Giants games. I could be wrong with the actual stats. The perception was there.
I understand what you're saying. I got you. Because the Giants had 200 total yardage, 247 total yards.
But they ran the ball 31 times.
Yeah. They rushing yards were 149 rushing yards, 98 passing yards. 98 passing yards. Daniel Jones had whatchamacallit? Why is that? That's a weird stat. 98 passing yards. That doesn't make sense.
He only threw 110 yards.
110 passing yards. This stat I'm getting 110. I go over here and it says 98. So,
well, the team passing yards were 98. Why there must have been Kadarius Toney's? No, that wasn't negative yardage.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know what it was? Kadarius Toney was sacked maybe for I don't know. It still
wait.
Passing yards.
98, 110. Yeah, well, there was Elijah Penny lost 8 yards on one reception.
There you go.
And so I mean that still should. There's another 4 yards not counted for, but There you go. That's what it is. But 247 total yards in offense, where the Raiders had 403 total yards in offense. So
look, here's the number that jumps out for me with Daniel Jones is that he should be a guy who only throws the ball 20 times a game.
Mm-hmm.
And he was sacked twice, which is still not great, but better. And he had 0 interceptions.
Right.
His average his average yards per pass was 5.5. Yep. Derek Carr's wasn't much better, but that's still pretty darn low. Their rushing yards, their rush average was almost higher.
Yeah. Well, it was. They rushed less.
So they were dinking and dunking a lot.
They were, and then first downs. Giants had 16 first downs. The Raiders had 24 first downs. So the Raiders won a lot of the stats, but the Giants the defense kept them out of the end zone, and got the job done with turnovers. Yeah. They both had a fumble loss, but whatever. But look, the end of the day, they came out. They looked to be a good team on the field that day.
They looked
ball control wise and defense wise, and they won the game.
They won a fairly close game against a team who underperformed. Who is a team that I'm not convinced has any sort of consistency in their game.
No,
the Raiders are a team that I cannot figure out. Can't.
Yeah, they've been really Jekyll and Hyde. There's a lot of teams that have been, but and it wasn't like I not that I can remember exactly who they played, but my impression is looking back at this, I think I did a few weeks ago, they weren't beating up on a bunch of patsies the first 3 weeks.
No, didn't they beat the Rams early in the season?
Yeah. It wasn't like the Denver defense is great after 3 weeks because they haven't played anybody. They were beating some quality teams, but
they came out of the gate really well, and they've sort of been mediocre since.
Yeah, they've had a couple of games where
maybe look, they've had some turmoil. Let's face it, they lost their coach.
Yeah,
so who knows? That could have a lot to do with it.
There you go. This is true. So, but in any event, the one thing you can say is the Giants will not lose this week.
They won't win either, but they're definitely not going to lose.
This is true. They're not going to lose.
Let's hope they can get healthy. The takeaway from this Giants game is Devontae Booker is a pretty good running back.
Right. It was also, a little self-serving to him too, because he left the Raiders to come to the Giants. So
right.
A little bit of a competition there. So, but yeah, it was a decent game, and like I said, three plays, 3 undisciplined penalties. 1 each game. The Giants are 6-3 instead of 3-6. So, but what are you going to do? Anyway.
I just want to say this really quickly, though. The Giants have the best name for a kick returner since Leon Bright, which was more of a Pharaoh Cooper is my favorite name for a Giants kick returner since Leon Bright.
Pharaoh Cooper.
Just going on record.
All right, that's good. So Pharaoh Cooper gets the Leon Bright Award this week.
Absolutely.
Done. All right.
Yeah.
All right, you got it. All right, let's move on to the Jets.
Are the Jets going to win today? No. I mean, yes. I mean, no. I mean, yes. I mean, no. I mean, yes. I mean, no.
All right.
Yeah, so, the answer is no.
The answer is no.
It's probably going to be no for possibly every other game in the entire rest.
And in watching this game, the final score I don't think is indicative of the absolute beating the Jets took.
Yeah,
I mean,
not even
I was afraid this is going to be a 72-6 game at some point.
At one point, I did think that.
I was just like, oh my God, this is crazy. I mean, the Jets' first drive, their second drive was good. Didn't they score early on? But then
they came right back. Yeah, it was 7-7 after the first quarter.
Yeah.
They traded touchdowns in the first quarter, and that was it.
Indianapolis scored 21 points in the second quarter.
Yep.
Yeah, look, it was 42-10.
Right.
And then the fourth quarter, the Jets outscored them 14-3.
Yeah.
To make it look like it was maybe a little bit
closer. I thought Indianapolis was going to hit 50 or 60. I really did. They almost hit 50.
They almost hit 50. Yeah.
Well, listen, and of course, Mike White got hurt.
Well, and he wasn't necessarily the Mike White of his first game.
No, but look, he was 7 for 11 for 95 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean he was chugging along. He was chugging
fine.
Along.
In that second quarter, he looked. They put pressure on him. And
yep.
Yeah. He looked. Of course. He was. There was a couple passes that he was lucky were not intercepted.
Yeah.
The Jets. It could have been worse actually, which is crazy. It sounds like he's going to play this week though.
Yeah.
Does it? Yeah. Well, I mean, not for nothing. The Bengals have a decent. Defense, but the Colts defense is better than the Bengals defense.
I mean, is Josh Johnson though the next Mike White? 27 of 41, 317 yards. Granted, a lot of it was in garbage time.
3 touchdowns
and an interception.
The interception wasn't even his fault. It was a batted ball.
Right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. So listen. So guys that I don't know, come out and have nothing to lose. They look pretty. This isn't a good game I don't think, to judge Josh Johnson.
You can't judge.
Is Joe Flacco on the Jets?
He is. He was standing on the sidelines in a sweater, hanging out.
Yeah,
talking.
he was not. Look, here's the thing about the Jets: they can't stop the run, and they have no running game.
Yeah, their defense looked.
Their defense
really bad.
What is it? Taylor? Is that?
Well,
his name?
Jonathan Taylor is an amazing running back.
Yeah, but still. 172 yards.
This is an Indianapolis Colts team that's now 4-5. That you could argue
they should They should have a better record.
Well, or worse. They won a couple of games. I don't know.
They could be either way. They could be 2-7. They could be 7-2.
They're as unpredictable to me as the Raiders.
To me, they seems like they're getting better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, playing the Jets helped them. But
so in other words, some teams grow during the course of the season. Some teams are rather stagnant.
But to your point, the Jets can't stop the run, but they beat the Titans.
Right.
Well, that was what week was that?
Or did they lose to the Titans?
No, they beat the Titans.
No, they beat the Titans.
They beat the Titans, and Derrick Henry was there, and they beat the Titans. So,
yeah,
it was weird.
Yeah. Taylor had 19 carries for 172 yards and 2 touchdowns.
That's college stats.
172 yards, average 9.1 yards a carry.
The Jets had 21 carries.
I was happy, by the way. I had him on 2 of my fantasy
57, teams. 21 carries for a total of, let's see, 50, 70, 88 yards.
I'll tell you, I mean, Indianapolis' offensive line.
Taylor more than doubled the Jets' entire rushing output. Yeah.
And listen, to me, this kind of this paints a crystal clear picture of the real problem for the Jets offensively coming into this season. Obviously, look, you're expecting them to struggle with a rookie quarterback. There was a lot of hype. I think the Jets built Zach Wilson up in their minds, and the press helped build him up in other people's minds. But if you don't have a decent running game, there's no way your rookie quarterback's going to do anything unless he's a superstar out of the box, which is very, very rare.
Very rare.
So they came into this season, new head coach, knew this, knew that, rookie quarterback, and nobody to run.
No,
really. Michael Carter,
right.
And that's a lot of weight to throw on a kid's shoulder, especially a 14-year-old like Zach Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just a flaw in their plan.
Yeah, it was.
And,
I agree. Yeah,
probably, missing a couple weeks, it might do him some good, actually.
There you go.
So. We'll see. We'll see Mike White, I guess, this week.
Again, that's what I think. So, All right.
I mean, whoever's out there, it's not looking good.
No. So we'll see. All right. Well, I mean, we'll obviously pick them and beaten by the coin, but they got the Bills this week. Although, I mean, this is one of those games where it's like the Titans game, right? There's no way the Jets are winning this game. Mike White plays. Bills look past them.
We're halfway at the halfway point of the season, and I believe my prediction for the Jets was 4 wins. Was it 4 or 3? I think it was 4.
Your prediction for the Jets was 4-13.
Yeah, so I'm right on target.
Mm-hmm. Mine was 5.
And you're going to keep reminding us of that.
I actually think that's a positive thing for the Jets in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I know that sounds weird, but I actually think it is.
Yeah, mine was 5-12. I said 5-12.
I said 10 and 7, right?
No, you said 6-11. You said 6-11. You had the most wins for both the Jets and the Jets.
I know. What can I say? I'm an optimist.
There you go. All right. Couple other things before we do.
Yet the over/under is always under.
Oh
no, over/under. Oh, crap. I look at my camera and see what's on the shelves.
There you go. All right. A couple other things before we do beaten by the coin. Stat came out this morning. I was looking at it. Lamar Jackson. Just read these really quick. For 2021 so far, he's number 1 in offensive yards himself, between rushing and passing or whatever. Almost 3,000, 2,809. He's number 1 in yards per carry, 6.2. He's in first place in fourth quarter comebacks. He has 4 of them.
That was going to be my point.
Okay. He has the most double-digit fourth quarter comebacks.
That was
3 of them.
Also going to be my point.
There you go. And he's 6th in the league in rushing yards. And he's a quarterback, 600 yards. He's on pace to have a 1,275 rushing yard season, and that would be a record for a quarterback, obviously. So,
did either of you guys honestly think that the Ravens had a chance of winning that game?
No,
neither did I.
No, not at all.
I mean, it was he is amazing.
He is
at fourth quarter comebacks.
He is, and he's got control of the team, and they all believe in him, and he just takes them under his wing, and they win the game. And they did it with the Colts a few weeks ago. They did it on Sunday. It's just crazy. Now, so my question
he had 6 more completions than he did rushes.
Yeah, exactly. So my question to you on this, is he a category at this point? I mean, it's kind of a, weird question to ask because it's obvious, I think. But is he a candidate? Or right now, if the voting was right now, is he MVP? Is he league MVP?
He's my MVP because I think this team without him is...
This team without him is like 2-7.
2-6 or whatever. It's, 2-6. I mean, I think that their record is exactly reversed because I don't think that they're stacked on offense. It's not like you're putting him in there with Kansas City's weapons or even the Giants' weapons for that matter.
Right.
I think that he is literally making the most out of his abilities within this offense, and it's not like he's doing it. He's doing it when the game's on the line.
Yeah, he is.
He is doing it when the game's on the line.
Well, it's fun to watch. It's interesting to see. I didn't think they were going to win, but hey, you know what? He keeps this up, he will definitely be MVP again. He will definitely get the MVP. So
the only thing I would caution against or say in sort of a negative vein is, the fact that he's having to come back in the fourth quarter.
That's hard to do in the playoffs.
It's hard to do in the playoffs, and the more, I mean, it's one of the it's not a catch-22. It's one of those things where it's the more it happens, the more amazing it is. He did it again,
right.
But the fact that he had to do it again, I don't think that's a good sign.
That's yeah.
It's amazing when he does it, but eventually those kind of things catch up to you. But it's
I hear you.
Goddamn wonderful to watch.
Well,
that's
that's there's a difference there, though. Okay, the fact that he did it again because it clearly was done because of him. It wasn't everybody. It wasn't. I'm not saying that he didn't have help, obviously, but it was more because of him than anybody else.
Right.
But the fact that they're in the position they're in was less of him. I'm not absolving him from the fact that they were in that position, but it was less his fault and more a lot of other things going on the field. You know what I'm saying? It was more of a team effort to get into that position. Defense too, and everything else than it was to, you know what I'm saying?
But you know, the quarterback always bears responsibility.
Of course.
So.
No, of course.
And
I'm just
he's
saying so.
Look, as Harry just said, to his credit, he is getting it done. He is doing it, and he's doing it in crunch time. So
yep, you're right. Matthew Stafford right now has 232 pass attempts to wide receivers so far this season. That's the most in the NFL. So he's your gunslinger this year so far. And the reason I brought that up was whatchamacallit. Talking about Odell before. Maybe he goes to the Rams. Maybe the Rams say, "Hey, you know what? We're going all in. We'll go all in again. Here you go. Come on."
Well, they brought that in. They brought that up on First Take today. Stephen A. Smith seemed pretty positive that would be a good fit for him and that they were in the running.
Yeah.
But Diana Rossini seems to have a take on this, and she responded during the show saying the Rams are out.
Yeah.
So we shall see.
We shall.
She may be wrong, but I think the Rams maybe feel like they just have to execute a little better, and they whatever they're doing is working to some degree. I mean, sure. I think that they're a beatable team, the Rams. If you look at the top quarterbacks, though, there's people having some good seasons. You know, even
I'd also say pretty much everybody is beatable.
Right.
You know, I mean that.
What I mean by
saying, but there've been. My point is there have been teams that we really think looked really, really good.
Right.
And they've shown us at times, not fluky times, that they are beatable. It seems like it's
different between being beatable and laying eggs. And I feel like the Rams have laid a few eggs. I don't think Arizona's really laid an egg. Baltimore maybe early on, but not so much since. Right. Tampa Bay, I don't think they've lost, but they haven't laid an egg. You know, Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, other than the first game of the season, hasn't really gone out there and just stunk it up. So, beatable is one thing. The Rams, though, seem like they have the ability to have the really bad game. Mm-hmm. They always have been that team for some reason. Yeah, that is why I don't have as much confidence in them moving into the postseason. And I thought I felt the same way about Arizona, but Arizona continually proves that they're probably with Tampa with Green Bay losing this week. You know, you got to probably think Arizona maybe is going to have that home field advantage in the NFC.
Well, I mean, obviously, it all comes down to Aaron Rodgers, right? I mean, Jordan Love. I mean, Aaron Rodgers got to realize now that you know, and he doesn't have to worry about.
Jordan Love made me feel happy that we had Daniel Jones.
I mean, talk about it.
I just wish Daniel Jones was our backup.
Talk about watching paint dry in a game. I mean, it was what, you know, it was. It was 7-0 Chiefs after the first quarter, 13-0 Chiefs after the second, 13-0 Chiefs after the third, and then Packers finally get a touchdown, get on the board in the fourth.
Well, and if you watch that game, the Packers were a couple plays away from being close to being able to tie it.
Yeah.
You know, I know that's a lot of ifs and or buts, but they were starting, and then they had what's his name? Devonta Adams catches the ball and is a 1 yard short. Then they had the one play called back. Big play called back, I think, on a holding. So you know, we'll see.
I was going to bring up, Kansas City. Obviously, if Aaron Rodgers was playing, the Packers win this game.
Oh, easily.
You know, easily win this game. And the Giants actually, you know, is one of those the week before was one of those 3 games that they should have won. So I mean, the Chiefs could be 3-6 right now. You know,
they could.
And then I want to show this really quick. I had this graphic really quick. This is probably one. I mean, other than penalties, this is one of the bigger reasons too. Right there, Chiefs turnover margin under Andy Reid, 2013 to 2020, they were plus 83 in turnover margin, best in the NFL. This season so far, they're minus 11. They're tied for the worst in the NFL. And and there's also this one too, 19 turnovers so far. And turnovers on They had turnovers on 24% of their drives. They've had a turnover.
That's Daniel Jones territory.
That's most in the NFL. It's unbelievable that Kansas City is falling into those categories for those stats.
Well, they're forcing it a little bit. Mahomes has not had to deal with a lack of success at any point in his career. Even when they were down or have lost the big games, it wasn't because of him.
Right.
The offense was always able to put points on the board.
Sure.
He's struggling. Even if you look at his mechanics and some of his body language and some of his decision making,
sure,
there's something there. There's something, and everybody goes through it. Yeah. I just don't think this is their year, but
it's a down year. It's a down year. So I got two other things before we do beaten by the coin really quick. Eli Manning's double bird on Monday Night Football back in September, on the 27th of September. The FCC received 3 complaints from
Only 3?
Only 3. Well, three that were promoted by TMZ, actually. One of them was on the ESPN's Monday Night Football. Eli Manning used profane gestures that were despicable and unacceptable, and fines should be levied. The viewer was from Westchester, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So
I would say that Eli Manning could have a station to himself where his 2 middle fingers are up 24/7, and it would still be less detrimental to the well-being of humanity than TMZ.
Right. This is true. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Another one was
although we have to remember the rule for every person that actually files a complaint, depending on the audience size, there's exponentially other people who feel the same way.
Right.
They just don't formally complain about it.
They don't formally complain about it. Yeah.
Still, not enough that they're gonna shut down a network or anything like that.
Well, the other thing was another complaint was young Americans should never be exposed to something like that. It was disgusting. Another wrote, Mr. Manning's actions are offensive to me as a viewer. It was also offensive as a Philadelphia native and a sports fan.
Yeah, okay.
There was young children watching the broadcast last evening. If the FCC should take all appropriate enforcement actions against Mr. Manning and or ESPN for Mr. Manning's conduct and hold them accountable, to send a message that type of behavior, even if he was retelling a story, is not acceptable, including all appropriate fines.
Yeah.
Sincerely, Bill Cosby.
There you go. Right. And then this was the best, though. A viewer from Tumwater, Washington. Obviously there's an Eagles fan in Washington. Went as far as to demand Eli get banned from the airwaves.
Maybe somebody from Tumwater, Washington, just was watching the game.
There you go.
Or are they a Seahawks fan in Tumwater, Washington?
Maybe. Well, the reason it was because when he gave the double bird, he was talking about what young Eagles fans used to do to him when he walked into the stadium.
Of course, I understand.
So anyway, all right. And then the other thing I wanted this is a really quick one. They caught an image of Bill Belichick arriving to the game last week in his pregame clothing, and here it is. There's his outfit. His pregame outfit right there.
That seems doctored.
I don't know if it's no, it's not. I don't know if that's a belly shirt and he's got another hoodie under it, or if it's just an odd two-tone hoodie, and he's got one leg rolled up, the sweatpants, and the other one's all the way down. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but yeah. Anybody listening to the audio podcast, do yourself a favor, and if you haven't seen this, check out on Facebook or YouTube channel. It's about right about now. It's an hour and 23 minutes into the podcast. Go look at the picture. There you go. So anyway, all right.
Makes me like him even more.
It's endearing.
He's just he's the most cantankerous curmudgeon ever in the history of mankind.
Cantankerous curmudgeon ever.
And
and he dresses like it.
He just doesn't. That is the epitome of honey badger doesn't give a shit.
That's exactly right. So.
Yeah. Hey, do you guys want to? I got one scheduling anomaly.
Ooh.
Sure.
Should we mention that now before we get to
it's RadioPete scheduling anomalies.
We got a sounder for that.
Now we do.
Yeah, we do.
All right. So this is the last one I have on my list here. Right. The Week 14 bye, which is probably extra good, right? With the extra game this season stuff. Colts, Dolphins, Eagles, and Patriots all have the Week 14 bye this year. So this is notable for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's the latest scheduled bye by any team has been given since 2002. when the NFL expanded to 32 teams. Second, the Buccaneers had the latest bye week last year, and they went on to win the Super Bowl. So that could be good news. Although I don't really think the Dolphins,
Eagles,
maybe the Colts would have the second best. I don't know. Well, Colts, Dolphins, Eagles, Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
Which of those 4 teams would you say has the best chance?
Honestly, of those 4 teams, I would say the Patriots.
Yeah. So there you go.
Patriots could be, with the way Buffalo is playing, Patriots have a shot of winning the NFC East or the AFC East.
Yeah.
They have a shot of winning the NFC East.
Well, they would easly have already won the NFC East last year, especially.
So there you go. Those 4 teams get a late break late in the season. So
it's Radio Pete's Schedule Anomalies. There we go.
Brought to you by
Dannon.
Yeah, all right.
Why not? Dannon. There you go. All right, perfect. All right, let's do Beaten by the Coin. Beaten by the Coin.
Beaten by the Coin.
I'm sure I'll lose to the coin.
No one wants to be beaten by the coin.
All right. Beaten by the Coin for week 10, but first of all,
not a great week.
The recap for week 9. Well, it was a pretty good week for one Mr. Jersey Johnny.
Yeah, would you go 4-1?
Defending his title, he went 4-1. Now
I almost went 4-1. I went 3-2.
Yeah, 27-19, and kind of took the lead away from you. 3-2 for you. So 26-20, just a game back. I am tied after a 2-3 week. Thank you very much, Houston. I blame them. And the Coin actually with a above.
Well, that was your first mistake picking Houston to win a game. But.
In any sport, other than baseball.
Picking games is my first mistake, but yeah, going with Houston is usually a bad compounder. And the Coin 3-2, picking the Giants, KC, and Miami. So
there you go.
It's 21-25. So there we go. So me and Johnny a game ahead of Harry, and the Coin a few games back.
There you go.
And there we go.
You're ahead of me?
Yeah. Just by
Pete and I are tied. We're one game ahead of you.
One game ahead of you.
So one game separates the 3 of us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, all right. So we got the Jets hosting Buffalo this week.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone want to take the Jets?
No.
Nope.
All right. Let's see if the Coin.
This couldn't come at a better time for Buffalo. Talk about a team that looked bad last week.
Oh yeah, it's like a vacation week.
I don't know.
There's no way this can be a trap game. Heads. Boy, the Coin likes the Jets. All right. Game 2 is now we had to pick 4 instead of the usual 3 because the Giants are on the bye week this week. Mm-hmm. So we're having another team involving an AFC East team, the Cleveland Browns, being hosted by the New England Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
So Cleveland definitely without Odell Beckham, and New England with the dirty Mac and Cheese Jones. I'm going to pick New England.
Yeah, I am too.
That's a 3-way.
Okay. And we'll see what the old Coin has to say. The Coin has been liking the home teams of late.
It's a double-headed coin.
Oh, shoot. Wrong coin. Comes up heads, so we're all in on New England.
There you go.
All right. Kansas City visiting the L.A. Rams? No, L.A. Raiders.
Las Vegas?
LV Raiders.
LV Raiders.
The LVR. I'm going to get it right one of these days.
One of these days. You shouldn't say
anybody?
Oakland.
Who wants to go first on this?
I'm going with the Raiders on this one.
Going with the
Raiders bounce back from their loss.
This is going to be an
interesting game.
Got some
it's not going to be an
year.
Easy game, but I think the Raiders are winning.
Yeah, I have to agree. I have to agree. At home.
Yeah, it's not like Kansas City had a great bounce back, game.
No, they would have gotten blown out if Aaron Rodgers was
They
playing,
won by attrition, if anything else.
Yeah.
So I'll take the Raiders too. And the coin, who loves the home team,
going to go with the
city.
Raiders. There you go.
All right, so there we go.
Yeah.
Minnesota at the Clippers.
If they were playing the Clippers, they might win.
It's LAC, so
LAC.
I don't know. Vikings are on the come, right? They're on the way up.
They just can't win games.
Yeah,
They can't finish. That's the problem. They can't finish.
And the Chargers in that Eagles game showed that they can finish.
Right.
and it's
After 2 tough losses, they kind of. I don't know. It's I don't think this is as easy as you think it is. Look, the Chargers got destroyed by the Ravens, 34-6, and
right.
as we just talked about earlier, the Ravens were kind of lucky to get past Minnesota. Having said that, I like the Chargers at home.
Yeah. I want to take the Vikings, but the Chargers are home. They played better last week.
They got to be able to put 2 games together.
They got to be able to put 2 games together. Yeah, I got to go Chargers.
I'm going to take Minnesota. I think this is the week they get over the hump.
Yeah.
It's not a bad pick. I think that that's why we're picking these. They can all go either way.
Yeah, I think you make good arguments for either one of these teams. Coin likes the VIX.
There you go.
So there we go. So that will assure that I lose. And then Philly being hosted by them Broncos into Denver.
Both teams a little bit more on the upswing, Broncos, Broncos
Philly
have won 2 in a row.
Yeah.
Should have beat the Browns. Again, some players leave, all of a sudden somebody leaves and your defense has the best game of the season. And Von Miller. So both of these teams are just crazy. I do know one thing. I'm not going to my neighborhood bar, which happens to be owned by guys from Philadelphia and becomes an Eagles bar because
you don't want to do that.
In Denver. I'm definitely not going there.
Yeah.
Do they serve cheesesteaks?
That I don't know.
Might be worth going there.
Interesting.
I'm gonna become a homer just because God, I can't stand the goddamn Eagles. I'm gonna pick the Broncos. I think the Broncos win at home.
I'm gonna take Philly.
Yeah, I gotta go with
particular
Denver.
reason.
I gotta go with Denver. I gotta go with Denver. I can't. I think the Eagles will play a decent game, but I think the Broncos win this one.
I think it's coming down to the wire.
The Broncos played the way they did against the Cowboys. Against the Eagles, they're going to destroy the Eagles.
Yeah,
I should say the Eagles play the way the Cowboys played against the Broncos.
Well, yeah,
the Broncos destroy the Eagles.
That's probably more of a that's more likely, right? That the Eagles will play like the Cowboys, and Denver will play like Denver did.
Right.
Denver hasn't had, with the exception of maybe one game against the Raiders, they really haven't had a really bad defensive game.
Yeah, you're right. So, who'd the coin pick?
Coin likes the Eagles.
The Eagles. All right.
There you go.
Oh, some interesting games.
Yeah,
interesting games. Last year we were all in the 600, 60 percentile, maybe higher, especially Johnny. We're picking the tough games this year, so that's
what we're doing. We're picking tougher games this year.
If you can maintain a 500 or above average here, I think we're doing all right.
We are. As much as you could be halfway through a season with an odd number of games.
Yeah,
and we're
doing all right.
Yeah, we're doing okay.
We're close. We're all within a game of each other.
If I could figure out the percentages, then I would be able to.
Then you would be
to know where we are. But I think we're
what are you guys? You guys are leading, and what's your record? 27
and 19.
Yeah,
and you're 26 and 20.
Yeah.
So 37, 48. So 24 would be...
You guys are at 73%.
There you go.
No, that can't be right.
That's
no, because 24 would be 50%.
Wait, so you're 27 and 19. Okay, so
yeah.
So what's 27? What's 27 plus 19?
So 37 and then
so
9.
46 games.
46.
Right.
So
23 would be 50% of 46.
Right.
yeah.
So yeah.
So it's more than 50.
High fives, right around 600.
Yeah, so close to 60.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a mathematical formula that actually figures this out.
58%, almost 59%.
Yeah, I think that's good enough to win it on Fox, right?
Yeah, well, on Fox, definitely.
Yeah. Of course they they pick against the spread, so.
This is true. All right.
So there we go.
So there
what
you
happens
go.
this week.
All right.
All righty.
All right. Well, that brings us to, there we go, our top 10 list this week. Our top 10 list this week, if you couldn't tell from the jersey and cap that I'm wearing, is, and it just so happens to be a particular one we talked about before, is the top 10 Green Bay Packers of all time.
Top 10 Packers.
Top 10 Packers of all time. There we go. Not sure why the Packers would be in Boston, but top 10 Packers of all time. Anyway, all right. And in true Get On With It Sports Podcast fashion, we have 13. So we're gonna do it a little differently tonight. We're not gonna talk about every one in depth like we have in the past. So we're gonna start it off with our number 10, of course, and that would be Mr. Sterling Sharpe. Sterling Sharpe. His name is actually Sterling Sharpe. I mean, no middle name or anything like that. He was drafted in the first round, pick 7 overall in the 1988 draft by the Packers. Played his entire career with the Packers. Of course, his entire career consisted of 7 years. He was a 7-year career. He's a 5-time Pro Bowler, 3-time first-team All-Pro, a 3-time NFL receptions leader, a 2-time NFL receiving touchdowns leader, NFL receiving yards leader in 92. He's in the Packers Hall of Fame, and he is his South Carolina Gamecocks number 2 is retired, and of course he's in the College Football Hall of Fame with that. 595 career receptions for 8,134 yards and 65 touchdowns. Sterling Sharpe, our number 10 on our list tonight. There you go. All right. That brings us to number 9. We have a tie at number 9. Our first number 9 is Mr. Willie Davis. Willie D. Davis, to be exact. He was drafted in the 15th round, pick 181 overall in the 1956 draft by the Cleveland Browns, actually. Played 2 years for the Browns, then moved on and went to the Green Bay Packers for 10 seasons. 2-time Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl 1 and 2. 5-time NFL champion, 5-time Pro Bowler, 5-time first-team All-Pro, 1-time second-team All-Pro. He's a member of the 60s All-Decade team. He's in the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame, and he is in Canton. I keep saying that. He's in Canton in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I don't know why I want to say that. Willie D. Davis, our first number 9. All right. That brings us to our second number 9, which is Jerry Kramer. Hold on one second here. There we go. Yeah, Jerry Kramer. Gerald Lewis Kramer, to be exact. He was drafted in the 4th round of the pick number 39 overall out of Idaho in the 1958 draft by the Packers. Played 11 seasons for the Packers. He was a 2-time Super Bowl champion in Super Bowls 1 and 2. 5-time NFL champion. 5-time first-team All-Pro. 2-time second-team All-Pro. 3-time Pro Bowler. Member of the 60s All-Decade team, the 50th anniversary team. He's, of course, in the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame. He had his career stats, 130 games played. By the way, he's a kicker. He was also played guard, too. He's a kicker. Played 29 of 54 field goals and 90 of 95 extra points for 94.7 percentage for his career for extra points. He's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well. Jerry Kramer. Radio Pete?
Yeah, listen, the guy who threw maybe the most famous block in the history of the game in the 67 NFL Championship, the Ice Bowl.
Sure.
And Kramer taking on Jethro Pugh.
Mm-hmm.
Here's your assignment. Bart Starr is going to sneak it in.
He later took on all of Jethro Tull as well.
if you don't get in, probably the clock's going to run out, and we're going to lose the game, which, it was whatever, minus 117 degrees. So 31 wedge was the call, and Kramer got the nod, and apparently there's some controversy. Well, anyway, it was successful, of course, and Bart Starr took it in, and Green Bay got the win. But there's some controversy about whether Kramer actually made a false start. Pugh says there's no way he gets that block on me unless he takes off early. Apparently, if you look at the frame-by-frame footage, He does seem to actually get a little bit of a jump on the snap. Now, the play may have worked otherwise, but I think in oh geez, I lost the quote here. In his book. Oh, here it is. Kramer writes, here's the quote: "I wouldn't swear that I didn't beat the center snap by a fraction of a second. I wouldn't swear that I wasn't actually offside on the play." So there you go. Yeah. Maybe just a little bit, but
maybe just a little anticipation, and that
hard
that
to tell in that cold and wind. And look, Kramer was just a great player for about 10 years, I guess, and a big part of the Packers and the Packers sweep. Mobile offensive lineman, and really one of the unsung or underrated guys. I think we talk about offensive linemen and how they don't get enough credit and stuff, and he was. Maybe a little under recognized for a long time, but kind of getting his due now.
Absolutely. Great guard. There you go. Jerry Kramer, number 9, tied also for number 9. There you go. All right. That brings us to number 8. Number 8 is Mr. Willie Wood, William Vernell Wood Sr., to be exact. He went undrafted in 1960 and was picked up by the Green Bay Packers, played 12 seasons for the Packers. Career highlights, he was an 8-time Pro Bowler, 5-time NFL champion, 2-time Super Bowl champion, 5-time first-team All-Pro, 4-time second-team All-Pro. NFL interceptions leader in 1962. He was a member of the 60s All-Decade team. He's in the Packers Hall of Fame, and, of course, he is in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well. William Vernell Wood Sr., Willie Wood, safety for the Green Bay Packers, number 8 on our list tonight. All right. That brings us to number 7, Mr. 7. Mr. 7 tonight is Mr. Jim Taylor. James Charles Taylor, to be exact, fullback for the Green Bay Packers. He was drafted in the second round, pick 15 overall by the Packers in 1958, and he played 9 seasons for the Packers. Played a season, finished his career in New Orleans for a year or two in 67, but 58 to 66 with the Packers. Super Bowl champion in Super Bowl 1, 4-time NFL champion, NFL Most Valuable Player in 62, 3-time first-team All-Pro, 3-time second-team All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, NFL rushing yards leader in 62, 2-time NFL rushing touchdowns leader, member of the 60s All-Decade team. His in the Packers Hall of Fame. His New Orleans Saints number 31 is retired. As a matter of fact, he only played a season for them, and his 31 is retired. So it's got to tell you something. Career stats. 8,597 rushing yards, average of 4.4 yards per carry, 83 rushing touchdowns, 225 receptions for 1,756 yards, and 10 receiving touchdowns as well. And, of course, he's in Canton in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Jim Taylor, fullback for the Packers. Harry?
I think he's a guy who kind of goes under the radar a little bit when you're talking about some of the all-time best running backs. He was the first running back to record 5 straight seasons of at least 1,000 yards rushing. He, in his career with Green Bay, almost 2,000 carries, almost 9,000 yards, 83 touchdowns. His 81 rushing touchdowns remains a franchise record by a wide margin, and he's still second, I believe, right now in receiving yards. He's a Hall of Famer. He's obviously in the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame. He was a tough guy who earned a lot of his yards the old, the hard way. 4-time champion, 5-time Pro Bowler. He had a bunch of feuds. He was a talker. He had a feud with Sam Huff. They were always kind of yelling at each other. And boxing promoter Al Flora, after watching one of their games on television, offered Taylor and Huff $2,000 for a 4-round boxing match to be held in Baltimore, but he was turned down by the players. I mean, you could say the game was more rushing oriented then, but it was also more defensive oriented then.
Sure.
And Sam Huff said you got to pile on him to keep him down.
Yeah,
he was one of the hardest guys to tackle.
Absolutely, it's funny that he, Jim Taylor back and forth with Jim Brown all the time for, NFL MVP and rushing titles and everything else. And both of them had fierce rivalry with Sam Huff. So,
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. They had a rivalry that, I mean, if you're having a rivalry with Jim Brown, then you're pretty damn good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, there you go. All right. Mr. 7 tonight, number 7 on our list of top 10 Green Bay Packers of all time, fullback Jim Taylor. All right. Brings us to number 6. We have a two-way tie at number 6 as well. Our first one is going to be Mr. Herb Adderley.
Herb Albert, all right.
Herb Albert and the Tijuana Brass. Now, Herbert Anthony Adderley. There you go. He was drafted in the NFL draft in 1961. First round, 12th pick overall by the Green Bay Packers. And he was also drafted in the AFL draft as well, but obviously he went in the NFL. Went to the Packers, played 9 seasons for the Packers, 61 to 69. Actually finished up his career in Dallas for 3 years, 70 to 72. 3-time Super Bowl champion, 2 with Green Bay and 1 with Dallas. 5-time NFL champion, 4-time first-team All-Pro, 3-time second-team All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, and 5 consecutive seasons. 5 NFL 1960s All-Decade team. He's in the Packers Hall of Fame, and he is in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well. 48 career interceptions for 1,046 interception yards and 7 touchdowns. Herb Adderley, number 6, tied for number 6 on our list tonight. And that brings us to our other tied number 6, and that would be, of course, the Minister of Defense, and that would be Reginald Howard White. Reggie White, folks. Pick number 1 in the 84 draft, 4th pick overall. He played for the Eagles. Actually played for the Memphis Showboats for a year and a half in the USFL. But then he went to the Philadelphia Eagles in 85, played 7 seasons for the Philadelphia Eagles, 8 seasons actually for the Philadelphia Eagles. And he finished his career in Carolina, but he went to the Panthers from 93 to 98, so that was 6 years with the Packers, and those were his years, obviously, that we're referring to. Finished up his career with 1 year in Carolina Panthers. Super Bowl champion in Super Bowl 31. 2-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year, 87 and 98. 8-time first-team All-Pro, 5-time second-team All-Pro. He's a 13-time Pro Bowler, folks. 2-time NFL sacks leader in 87 and 88. Remember the 1980s All-Decade team, the 1990s All-Decade team, the 75th anniversary team, the 100th anniversary team. He's in the 100 Sacks Club. He's in the Philly Eagles Hall of Fame, the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame. His number 92 is retired in Philly and in Green Bay. 3-time NFC Defensive Player of the Year. Of course, he's got the Bart Starr Award, and he even won the first team. He even made the first team All USFL in 1985 too. So there you go. Yeah. But 1,112 career tackles. 198 sacks, 33 forced fumbles, 3 interceptions, and 2 touchdowns. He's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well. Minister of Defense, Reggie White, number 6 on our list. All right. That brings us to number 5. We have a 2-way tie at number 5 as well. Our first number 5 is Mr. Forrest Gregg. Alvis Forrest Gregg, to be exact. He was drafted out of SMU in the 2nd round with the 20th pick overall in 1956. Played for the Packers 56 and then 58 through 1970, and then he finished up his career in Dallas for a year as well. A 3-time Super Bowl champion, 2 with the Packers and 1 with the Cowboys. 6-time NFL champion. 7-time first-team All-Pro. 2-time second-team All-Pro. 9-time Pro Bowler. Member of the 60s All-Decade team, 75th anniversary team, 100th anniversary team. He's in the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame, and he is in Canton as well in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Alvis Forrest Gregg, number 5 on our list tonight. Harry?
I mean, I think he's, on the Mount Rushmore of offensive tackles. I know he played guard and tackle, but it's reported that, Vince Lombardi called him the finest player that ever played for him. Whether that's true or not, I'm sure he was right up there. In 1999, he was ranked 28th on the Sporting News list of the 100 greatest football players. Oh. 100 greatest football players. I mean, other than Anthony Munoz and maybe, somebody like John Hanna, who's a guard. And by the way, I believe Forrest Gregg coached Anthony Munoz. I could be
Yeah, that
He did.
sounds great.
You know, he was one of these guys who reinvented the position. He dominated, and he dominated for a long time. He was a 7-time first team All-Pro, and he won 3 Super Bowls. He was a 6-time NFL champion. 9 Pro Bowls altogether. He was also Coach of the Year in 1975. The accolades are immense, and when you're this high on the list of an organization like the Packers, I mean, a lot of people have him second or third on their list.
Sure.
And I couldn't argue with that in a lot of ways. So he's one of the best, and I think his legacy lives on in the midst of all the Bart Starrs and the Ray Nitschkes and Jim Taylors and all of the other great Packers from years past. His name's right up there. And as an offensive lineman to be recognized, you got to be pretty special, because we don't talk about offensive linemen. And it's unfortunate that we don't, because people don't understand the importance they have to the game. But he's one of the best. He retired.
You can't win championships without offensive linemen. So.
No.
I think we talk about offensive linemen more than a lot of other.
We do, but in general,
we as a collective sports.
Right.
Sports
And
I agree.
Here's one point about this. I was looking at some of the other rankings of greatest Packers of all time, and when you look at like Bleacher Report and some of these other things, which are more fan, listener, reader sponsored and much more younger, Forrest Gregg's name doesn't even come up.
No.
When you look at people who actually are Packers fans and who look at the history of the Packers, he's right up there as one of the best ever. And I agree with them. I don't think he's a household name, but he probably should be. And if you're a football fan or a Green Bay Packers fan, and you have any sort of knowledge of the history of this team, his name's right up there with the best of all time.
As a head coach, he led the 1981 Bengals to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. He was a great coach.
He was.
I mean, there's a reason why Anthony Munoz credits him with a lot of his success.
Sure, absolutely. So there you go. Our first number 5 tonight, Mr. Forrest Gregg. There you go. All right. Also tied for number 5 is Mr. Aaron Rodgers, the jersey I'm wearing, and topic of about 20 minutes of conversation earlier tonight. Aaron Charles Rodgers, to be exact. He was drafted in first round, pick 24. Wasn't happy about it either in the 2005 draft by the Green Bay Packers. He has been on the Green Bay Packers since 2005 through present day, although his status for this Sunday is still in question. Super Bowl champion for Super Bowl 45. He was MVP in that Super Bowl as well. 3-time NFL MVP in 2011, 14, and just last year. 3-time first-team All-Pro, 1-time second-team All-Pro, 9-time Pro Bowler, 3-time NFL passer ratings leader, 2-time NFL passing touchdowns leader, NFL completion percentage leader last year in 2020, member of the 2010s All-Decade Team, Associated Press Athlete of the Year in 2011, Burt Bell Award in 2011, and he holds a number of NFL records already, and he's still playing, and that's 122.5 passer rating for the 2011 season, highest passer rating. 0.03 lowest interception percentage a couple seasons ago in 2018. 402 consecutive passes without an interception. Fastest NFL quarterback to 400 career passing touchdowns, 193 games. Most touchdowns in first 200 starts, 418. Most seasons with 35-plus touchdown passes, 5 seasons. That's tied. Most seasons with 40-plus total touchdowns. That's 5. Most seasons with 40-plus touchdown passes, 3 seasons. Most seasons with 45-plus touchdown passes, 2 seasons, and that's tied. Most seasons with 120-plus passer rating, 2 seasons with that. Best career touchdown-interception ratio, 4.66. And he has the lowest career interceptions percentage. It's 1.4%. Insane.
Three-time NFL Man Bun of the Year.
3-time NFL Man Bun of the Year. Absolutely. And, well, look at it this way. Would you rather look at the hair coming out of the bottom of the helmet or the man bun? Which would you like to look at? So.
And one-time NFL anti-vaxxer of the year.
One-time
Right.
NFL.
So far.
Currently.
Yeah, the final results aren't in yet.
Exactly. Yeah. He has 429 touchdowns to 92 interceptions. 53,139 passing yards so far and counting. 65.1 completion percentage. 104.0 career passer rating. And he's got 3,318 rushing yards for 33 rushing touchdowns as well. So there you go. A lot of stats there for Mr. Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Charles Rodgers, also tied for number 5 on our list tonight. There you go. All right. Let's move on to number 4. Number 4 is going to be Mr. Don Hutson. Don Hutson. Not Hudson, Hutson. Donald Montgomery Hudson, to be exact. An end for the Green Bay Packers. Played in Alabama. Played for the Packers from 1935 to 1945. And he coached after that as well for several years. 3-time NFL champion, 2-time NFL most valuable player, 8-time first-team All-Pro, 4-time NFL All-Star, 8-time NFL receptions leader, 7-time NFL receiving yards leader, 9-time NFL receiving touchdowns leader, NFL receptions leader in 1940, member of the 30s All-Decade Team, the 50th Anniversary Team, the 75th Anniversary Team, the 100th Anniversary Team. This man played in the 30s, and he was on all of these anniversary teams. Member of the Packers Hall of Fame, of course. His number 14 is retired. And he's in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Number 4, Don Hutson. Radio Pete?
If you want to talk about a Mount Rushmore of Packers players, you probably would need more than 4 slots.
Yeah.
You might have to throw, 6, 7, 8 faces up there.
Yeah.
Don Hutson would be one of them. Listen, there's a few quarterbacks that I think kind of get in the way of these top 10 lists. We always value the quarterback a little bit more. Don Hutson, I think you could make a pretty serious argument that he's the greatest Packer that ever lived, or that ever played. Listen, this he played from 35 to 45, not exactly the golden age of the pass in the NFL. 116 games, 488 catches, and 7,991 yards. So that's about 8,000 yards, which that's pretty darn good. 16.4 the average, 99 touchdowns. And as you mentioned, 9 times. Now, look, only 3 of those times were in double digits, but 9 times led the league in touchdowns.
He played 11 seasons. 9 times he led.
Yeah, and yards per game, I think, was another 8 times he led the league in that. So, look at his 1942 numbers: 74 catches, 1,211 yards. That's 16.4 average, 17 touchdowns.
Right.
I mean, that's just this guy was, and again, this was not not a time when a lot of guys were slinging the ball around. He was way ahead of his time, and one article I read put it was Babe Ruth, Gretzky. Oh shoot, let me see. I might have it here.
Babe Ruth,
Gretzky, Michael Jordan, and Don Hutson.
Really,
would be the Mount Rushmore of
the 4 sports,
of the 4 major sports, and they backed it up with a lot of stats. This guy, look, he played in the 30s and 40s, and there's a lot of people that know him, but you just look at his numbers and you go, "Holy cow!" What he was doing stuff that no one else was doing.
He's considered to have been the first modern receiver. He's credited with creating many of the modern pass routes that are used today.
Yeah.
So, and that was almost 100 years ago.
Right.
You think about it.
And 62 carries, by the way, for 284 yards, an average of 4.6 on the ground, which isn't too bad either.
Yep. I don't know.
So, listen, I think good teams can kind of help breed great players or great teams. You know what I mean? But those great teams are great in large part because they have great players. It's
right.
Of course, sort of a catch-22. It's a cyclical thing, but
of course.
Don Hutson is a guy who probably would have been great on anywhere he played. So,
right.
Definitely one of the Packers' all-time best.
Absolutely.
Number 4 on our list.
Right. Number 4 on the list tonight, Mr. Don Hutson. All right. Moves us on to number 3. We're in the home stretch here. Number 3 is Mr. Ray Nitschke. Raymond Ernest Nitschke, to be exact. Of course, he's been on several lists before, this man, in the past. So, drafted out of Illinois in 1958, the third round, picked 36 overall by the Packers. He played 15 seasons for the Packers. 2-time Super Bowl champion, 5-time NFL champion. Pro Bowler in 1964, 2-time first-team All-Pro, 5-time second-team All-Pro member, the 50th anniversary team, the 75th anniversary team, the 60s All-Decade team, Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame, and his number 66 is retired by the Packers. 25 career interceptions for 385 yards. Middle linebacker. I think I did forget to mention that. I apologize. He's middle linebacker for the Packers. 385 interception yards as well with 2 touchdowns. And, of course, he is in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Raymond Ernest Nitschke. Ray Nitschke, number 3 on our list tonight. Okay, that moves us on to number 2. Number 2 is going to be Mr. Brett Favre, or Favre.
That guy.
That guy. Brett Lorenzo Favre. Lorenzo. Brett Favre. Quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. Drafted in 1991 out of Southern Miss. Round 2, pick 33 overall by the Falcons. Was not drafted by the Packers. Played for the Falcons for a year. Then he went to the Packers. Played for 16 seasons for the Packers. And then, of course, he finished his career by playing for the Jets for a year. And then Minnesota Vikings for 2 years as well. Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl 31. NFL's most valuable player 3 times. 3 years in a row, 95 through 97. NFL Offensive Player of the Year in 95. 3-time first-team All-Pro for those 3 years as well. 3-time second-team All-Pro. 11-time Pro Bowler. Whatchamacallit. He was a Pro Bowler with every team except Atlanta, except his first year, his rookie year. 4-time NFL passing touchdowns leader. 2-time NFL passing yards leader. NFL completion percentage leader in 98. Remember the 90s All-Decade team, the 100th anniversary team. His number 4 in Green Bay is retired. He's in the Green Bay Hall of Fame. And some NFL records he has. Longest touchdown pass, 99 yards. Of course, he's tied with several other people. Consecutive starts, 297. And, and that's something tells me that's not going to be broken anytime soon anyway. Probably not at all. Eli was on his way towards it, but somebody got in the way. Most career interceptions, though, for a quarterback. He's got that record to his category for 336. He was the gunslinger. He threw the ball around, 10,169 passing attempts, 6,300 completions for a completion percentage of 62. 508 touchdowns to 336 interceptions for 71,858 passing yards and a passer rating of 86 for his career. And, of course, he's in Canton, Ohio as well in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Brett Lorenzo Favre, number 2 on our list. Anything to say about him, or shall we unveil our number 1?
Let's unveil our number 1.
Yeah. I'll just say I don't think his touchdowns to interceptions ratio is that bad.
It's not that bad. It's just he played so long and he threw the ball so much, and those numbers are so high that his interception numbers are higher than a lot of people. Obviously, that's why he has that record. So that's all. So there you go. Brett Favre, number 2. All right. Which makes anybody paying attention our number 1 on our list tonight of top 10 Green Bay Packers of all time, Mr. Bart Starr. Brian Bartlett Starr, to be exact. He was drafted out of Alabama in the 17th round, the 200th pick overall. Remember, there was only about 8 teams then, too. In the 1956 draft by the Packers. He played 16 seasons for the Packers and coached the Packers after that for a few years. Head coach for 8 years, actually, after that. He was quarterback's coach for a year, and then the head coach for the later half of the 70s and early half of the 80s. 2-time Super Bowl champion, 2-time Super Bowl MVP. Both Super Bowls he played in, he was the MVP. 5-time NFL champion, NFL MVP in 66. First-team All-Pro in 66. 3-time second-team All-Pro. 4-time Pro Bowler. 5-time NFL passer rating leader. NFL 60s All-Decade Team. Of course, he's in the Packers Hall of Fame. And his number 15 is retired by the Packers. Career stats, 3,149 pass attempts for 1,808 pass completions for a 57.4 percentage. 152 TDs to 138 interceptions for 24,718 yards for a passer rating of 80.5. And, of course, he's in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Brian Bartlett Starr, Bart Starr, number 1 on our list tonight. Guys, have anything to say about Bart?
Well, I think, you look at the history of let's just take the top 3 quarterbacks that are on this list for the Packers, who are all sure shot Hall of Famers or already in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I think they could be number 1, 2, and 3, and they could all easily be, I think, especially for me, Starr and Rodgers, even though I think Rodgers has something, if he can get that second Super Bowl ring, I think it separates him from Favre a little bit. I think there's an argument to be made for any of them. Rodgers' numbers are absolutely astonishing when you look at them, and just how efficient he is and how non-turnover prone he is. But I think Starr stands out from the rest of them just for what he did when he did it, and the fact that he did win. He was able to bring those championships through, and that means something to me. And so he was a sure shot number 1 on my list. I think I had Rodgers second, but I think this is a no-brainer, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. I mean, if you just go by stats alone, Aaron Rodgers is the top of the list. But for what Bart Starr was able to do, and winning, and not just those 2 Super Bowls at the later on in the 60s. I mean, he was winning NFL championships every year.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, you're absolutely right. All right. So that's our list tonight of top 10 Green Bay Packers of all time, with topping it off with number 1, Bart Starr. All right. That will bring us to this week's Old Balls.
Old Balls.
Harry, why don't you tell us who this week's Old Balls is?
Give me 1 second here, because my computer decided to freeze on me. This week's Old Balls is...
Is your computer.
Yeah. None other than Mr. Paul Hornung.
There you go.
Horning.
Paul, it's Horning.
Paul Vernon Hornung, the Golden Boy.
Yes.
And I think he could have. I think I had him on here tied for number 9 or 10. I sort of thought, let's add him to the official number 11, which is the Old Balls designation.
Sure.
He was one of these guys who was an incredible all-around athlete at Notre Dame. Played, basketball in addition to football, and he was a halfback, a quarterback, a place kicker. He played early enough that he won. He played before the Super Bowl. He was also a Super Bowl champion, a 4-time NFL champion, NFL Most Valuable Player in '61. And, a 2-time Pro Bowler. He led the NFL in rushing touchdowns in 1960. He's part of the NFL 1960s All-Decade Team. It would be interesting to see how many Packers were on that. Jimmy, can you get on that and take a look? Mm-hmm. He's in the Packers Hall of Fame. He could very easily, I think, have been on this list. But I think what makes him stand out to me is his versatility. And, you have to give it to him for kind of sticking in there, and he was one of the best. He was also obliged to serve in the U.S. Army and was called to active duty during the 1961 season. Mm-hmm. But he was able to get a weekend pass to play on Sundays. Vince Lombardi being a friend of John F. Kennedy, who was the president at the time, I didn't think it. And a pass was arranged so Hornung could play in the NFL championship game against the New York Giants. So Giants fans, I don't think JFK was on your side that day.
No, he was not.
Yeah. But look, one of the best. These early, I mean, there's been some great Packers along the way, but these early Packers teams are just stacked, and he's another Hall of Famer, and it's just amazing that they were the best team for a long time there for a reason, and Obviously, Vince Lombardi had a lot to do with that, but he knew how to put the right players in the right position. And it was also kind of a testament to all of these great players being able to play together.
Yep.
Paul Hornung, this week's recipient of the Old Balls Award.
Old balls.
All right. There you go. That'll wrap that up. All right. You guys want to say anything about the NBA, or we want to dive into that next week?
Let's dive into that next week.
I think that's a good idea.
Let's maybe skip a little bit of baseball and go start off with the NBA next week. Why don't we?
Well,
You guys don't want to talk about you don't want to talk about Jokic?
Well, I think Barkley. Let's talk about it next week because I will say is that I think Shaq and Barkley had it right. Just go look up what they had to say. I don't think he should have. He was suspended for a game. The Nuggets are playing without him tonight. I don't think he should have been suspended. I think it was a cheap shot. I think he retaliated. Barkley and Shaq said it best. You're going to hit me. You better not turn your back. So, they're trying to nick him up to get him off his game. He's off to a great start this year again on a team that's short-handed without their second best player and Jamal Murray, and he's off to another MVP start. And I thought it was a bit of a cheap play. I think let him play a little bit. I don't want to see anybody get hurt. Obviously, Marquise Morris took a fall, which I thought was a little bit harder than what the shove was. But I guess when you get shoved by a guy that big, it can send you flying. But it was let him play. Let him play. And if you're going to get hit in the ribs after throwing the ball at half court with somebody just coming at you with the intent to not only foul you but to foul you that hard, then you're gonna retaliate. Right. Look at some of the highlights. Watch the replay inside the NBA last night and show some of Shaq's and Barkley's retaliation on plays that maybe weren't even as hard as that play on Jokic.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's ridiculous that he got suspended. I really do.
I think it's a little silly too, but
yeah. All right. I was going to say it was a cheap shot by Morris, and he shouldn't have retaliated. I think probably the 1-game suspension is just about right. Neither player should have done what they did.
Right.
Agreed. And Jokic said so much as that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Listen, he's the only other thing that really came to my mind was I think in the playoffs last year, I forget who it was. He really hard fouled somebody.
Who, Jokic?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the play. I mean, come on.
I mean,
do we have to watch some?
No, I mean that was in the heat of the game, though. I think, and this was I don't know. Neither player should have done what they did. I think the whole thing was appropriately resolved, so to speak, and hopefully we all move on from it.
Hey, look, the Nets are playing some decent ball right now. They had a big win tonight again.
Yep.
I think the NBA is interesting. We'll go, let's give it some time next week.
Yeah,
and go into it in a little detail.
It's early. Listen, I'll just say this: there's in the East there's 6 teams that are under 500, and in the West there's 7.
Right.
Everybody else is at least at 500 or over.
So
it's a lot of parity so far this year.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely.
Got it. Absolutely. So, all right. We'll talk more about it next week. And I just realized, we didn't mention Curly Lambeau at all on the
Curly Lambeau.
Yeah,
we didn't mention
well, he's got a field.
He's got curds either, but
he's got a field. So
that's right.
I actually bought this hat at Lambeau Field too. So
there you go. Did you buy it from Curly? He likes to sell.
Curly, it was selling him in the lot. Yeah,
it's a knockoff.
Great grandson.
He doesn't trust that he's not going to get the residuals.
Right. Exactly. So anyway,
by the way, former Nick Carmelo Anthony having a pretty good season so far in LA.
Carmelo had a great season last year. He shot, I think, almost 43% for 3-point range last year. Something.
He's shooting 50% overall and 52 from 3-point range. So
yeah. Carmelo's the Lakers need to stay healthy. They're trying to find their identity. I think LeBron is finally maybe coming down to
realizing he's mortal.
Yeah, I really do. I actually really do believe that. It's kind of interesting. But somebody mentioned that one of the one of the NBA analysts actually said that this year. Somebody who played against them, and it's well, let's hope everybody's healthy for the playoffs, and that we have a season that pits the best against the best, and
sure,
we'll see what happens.
There you go. All right. Well, on that note, we'll wrap the show up for today. We want to thank everybody for watching, and for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.getonwithitpodcast.com. That's getonwithitpodcast.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for the Get On With It podcast. And, of course, all of the shows are on YouTube as well on the Logger Room channel. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at 7:30 Eastern Time. And for those of you that want to just listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, and Stitcher. Plus, the show is now available on Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, and iHeartRadio as well. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you'll never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend. Watch a lot of sports. Watch all the football. Starts tomorrow night. Obviously, you got baseball and hockey, basketball and hockey too, and a little baseball hot stove is happening as well. But anyway, check it all out. Enjoy. Have a great weekend, and we will talk to you next week, folks. Take care, guys. Cheers.
iHeartRadio.
Right, nice.
I might have to subscribe.
Look at that.
There you go.
Pretty impressive.
Maybe the next time I accidentally hit that button on a remote and it opens up instead of turning the TV on.
What number is iHeartRadio? Is it 107.12?
It's 107.39.
Okay. I'm going to go find it. AM, right?
AM, yes, of course.
Okay.
All right. 107.38, actually. I got that wrong. There you go. All right. Cheers.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.